Chapter 760. Published at 14th of February 2022 5:18 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 760. 760 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 760. The next divine paragon. Hurry up, little founder. I want to see you standing beside the founder's statue while in your uniform. Yenhara continued to urge him despite the weird looks he was giving her. Yuan, I suggest you give up and fulfill her wishes. She's one of the most stubborn people in this place and she will bother you until you do it. Tang Jing patted him in the back and said. Of course, he also wanted to see Yuan standing beside the founder's statue so that they can get a side-by-side comparison. I just need to wear the uniform, right? I will do it under one condition. Yuan suddenly said. What condition? You will answer my question. That's easy. You can even ask for my 3 sizes and I want refuse. Yenhara said in a prideful voice. You're what? Yuan raised his eyebrows as this is his first time hearing such a term. Tang Jing loudly cleared his throat and said, ignore her teasing. Anyways, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them even if you don't fulfill her request. Please. I am begging you. I will even get on my knees and beg. Yenhara began lowering her body. When Yuan saw this, his eyes widened and he quickly said, fine, I will do it. Don't you have any sense of shame, Yenhara? How can you beg in such a manner? To a junior no less. Tang Jing shook his head. I won't do this just for anyone. You have no idea how I feel. She coldly snorted. Sometime later Yuan left to change his clothes. When he returned, the 3 seniors were so surprised by his appearance that they had become speechless. After wearing the Demon Sealing Clan's uniform, Yuan's aura changed significantly, and he looked even more like the divine paragon. I cannot wait. Yenhara suddenly grabbed Yuan and flew directly to the area with the divine paragon statue. Tang Jing and Senior Fu quickly followed. Once they arrived, Yenhara placed Yuan right beside the statue and said to him, stand right here for a minute. Okay. Yuan nodded in a dazed manner, feeling like he was being treated as some sort of toy. Yeah. A sharp noise suddenly resounded in the area, causing everyone there to look at Yenhara, who had just screamed. They all wondered why she was screaming, but when they looked at Yuan who she was staring at, they all understood why she had just screamed. Yenhara is a renowned divine paragon fanatic in the Grand Library, and seeing someone who looks so identical to the divine paragon while also standing right next to his statue, it was only natural that she would go crazy. In fact, when other fanatics saw Yuan standing right beside the divine paragon statue, they also screamed like fangirls. Yeah. It's the divine paragon. What? No way. He's really here. Are you really the divine paragon? You look a little too young to be the founder. Are you by any chance his descendant? A crowd quickly gathered around Yuan and the statue, blocking Yenhara's view. Yenhara began fuming when these random people blocked her view, causing her to release a powerful pressure that also carried a hint of killing intent. Get away from him. If you're going to watch, do it where you're not blocking others' view. The people there quickly scattered away from Yuan when they heard Yenhara's angry voice and felt the threatening aura. However, they didn't completely leave the area and decided to watch from a distance. Is he a gift from the heavens, or are they simply mocking us? Senior Fu mumbled in a dazed voice as she looked at Yuan's face and the divine paragon statue back and forth, and the longer she stared, the more she believed that they were the same person. I have heard of many rumors about doppelgangers, but I have never witnessed anything like that in my life until today. Tang Jing sighed. Although he's a little young right now, in a few years he will look even more like the founder. When that happens, it will be as though the founder has returned to us. Yenhara spoke as tears flowed down her cheeks. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The place quickly filled with murmurs. Meanwhile, Yuan felt incredibly awkward. This situation made him recall his days in the Yu family, when he was admired by countless people. The way these people looked at him like he was their savior, it brought back bad memories. However, he didn't blame them, nor does he find any fault in their reaction, mostly because he was actually their founder. I have decided. Yenhara suddenly said. And she continued in a loud voice, I, Yenhara, will make it my life's mission to make you the next leader of the Demon Sealing Clan. What? Tang Jing and the others looked at her with wide eyes after her bold declaration. Yenhara, I know you're excited and all because he looks like the founder, but you're going a little too far here. You should calm down and rethink this. Tang Jing said to her. I am perfectly calm. In fact, I have never been any clearer. He has not only the looks but also the talents to become the next divine paragon. I am sure of that after witnessing everything today. Yenhara said. Tang Zheng could only shake his head at her words, as he knew that it was impossible to change her mind once she's in this kind of mood. Yenhara, I know your feelings, but it's not going to be an easy task. Senior Fu said to her. I know, but it's not like I have anything else better to do. I have been getting bored as a lecturer anyway. She shrugged. Bored? You've only been a lecturer for 4 years. Senior Fu said. Who cares about such minor details? Yenhara laughed as she approached Yuan. Little founder. I have some good news for you. I, Yenhara, the most talented demon sealer in my generation, have decided to train you to become the next divine paragon. She stood before him while surrounded by a prideful aura. After hearing her words, Yuan only had one question for her. What? He asked. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 761. Published at 15th of February 2022 10:09 and 11 seconds p.m. Chapter 761. 761 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 761. Red Tyrant, why? What do you mean why? Don't you want to become the best demon sealer in the 9 heavens? Yenhara looked at Yuan with wide eyes, almost as though she couldn't believe he'd even asked such a thing. And she continued, although I may not be the best demon sealer or the best teacher out there, I am definitely a renowned demon sealer with vast experience. I even killed 3 real demons before. If you study under me, I can guarantee you that you will become a great demon sealer. Only 3 demons? Yuan raised his eyebrows. Are you looking down on me? 3 demons may sound very little, but you must consider how demons are almost extinct. Most demon sealers nowadays have not even encountered 1 real demon, much less kill 3. Yenhara could see a hint of disappointment in Yuan's gaze and quickly defended herself. Sorry, I didn't mean it. Yuan quickly apologized when he realized that he'd just been disrespectful to her. Yuan was someone who had killed multiple demons, and his kill count was even higher than Yenhara, which he didn't expect as a newbie. However, just because he killed more demons than Yenhara did not mean he had more experience than her, and upon realizing this, he gave it some serious thoughts. I will have to face 11 demons in the near future, so I should acquire as much experience as I can before then. After thinking about it for a moment, Yuan eventually nodded his head and said, Okay, I will better myself as a demon sealer. However, I am not doing this because I want to become the next founder. I just want to be able to defeat demons if I ever come across them. Yenhara, who had been a little dejected, suddenly became elevated after hearing Yuan's words. Even though he doesn't have the aspiration to become the next divine paragon, it was more than enough for her that he wanted to study under her since he might change his mind in the future. Great. Starting today you are my disciple. Of course it won't be anything formal. Yenhara said with a bright smile on her face. I understand, Senior Yen. Anyways, you had some questions, right? I can answer them now if you want. Yenhara said to him, not forgetting about his matters. Yes, I wanted to learn more about the demonic realm. Yuan said. The demonic realm? Yenhara looked at him with a questioning gaze. Although that place hasn't been relevant ever since the divine paragon sealed it, I guess it's good to learn about its history. Follow me, I will teach you everything you want to know about the demonic realm. Yuan nodded and followed Yenhara to this room that gave off the atmosphere of a library. Go wait over there for me. I will grab some ancient scrolls about the demonic realm. Yenhara pointed at an empty table in the room. Yuan walked to the table and proceeded to wait for her. A couple of minutes later, Yenhara returned and placed a couple of scrolls on the desk. All right, let's begin, shall we? Yes. Yuan nodded. Let's start with the beginning. Yenhara placed a scroll before him and opened it. The demonic realm was created by a demon known as the Red Tyrant, who was one of the most powerful demons back in the primordial era. After creating this demonic realm, the Red Tyrant made it his base, and it would quickly grow into a home for millions of demons. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Eventually, this Red Tyrant would be known as the Demon God, who ruled over all demons and even humans to a certain extent for thousands of years. After learning about the demonic realm and the Red Tyrant, Yuan asked, I heard multiple times that demons used to rule the 9 heavens. What happened back then? How did demons even come into existence? Nobody really knows how demons came into existence, but there is a legend about the first demon appearing from a massive void that suddenly opened up in the starry sky. A void in the starry sky? Yuan raised his eyebrows. There are also rumors that this demon was the Red Tyrant, hence why he was so powerful, as he is the first demon. Once this demon showed up, almost like ghosts, demons began appearing around the 9 heavens, terrorizing the people there. Since nobody knew about demons and how to defeat them, these demons quickly conquered the 9 heavens with ease. Once that happened, humans were enslaved and became nothing more than playthings and food for these demons. The demons drank their blood, consumed their meat, chewed their bones, all sorts of horrifying things. Fortunately, almost as though the heavens sent him during the 9 heavens' darkest times, a certain individual created techniques that allow cultivators to finally fight back the demons, and that person was the Divine Paragon, founder of the demon-sealing clan. Although times have changed and it may not seem like it anymore, the Divine Paragon was more than just a hero to many people. He was a savior and God that saved the 9 heavens. I see. Yuan mumbled in a dazed voice. I have underestimated the Divine Paragon. He's much more important and exalted than I'd expected. He sighed inwardly. He knew the Divine Paragon was someone important, but he didn't think the Divine Paragon was such a big shot in the divine heavens. Meanwhile, somewhere in the 5th heaven the sky turned black, and a gaping hole appeared in the sky above the fairy paradise, shocking everybody there. Eventually, the people in the fairy paradise noticed a figure had appeared from the hole, and they watched as this figure slowly descended. Once this person had descended enough, the people in the fairy paradise could finally see this figure's appearance, and he was an old man with this unfathomable aura surrounding him. The master's presence lingers in this place. The old man mumbled in a profound voice as he stared at the fairy paradise beneath him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 762? Published at 15th of February 2022 10:09 and 10 seconds p.m. Chapter 762. 762 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 762. Immortal, Fairy Empress. We have an emergency. A woman came running into the Fairy Empress room shortly after the gaping hole appeared above the fairy paradise. Calm down, I am aware. Fairy Empress said. However, despite her calm voice, her face had a huge frown on it, and she was anything but calm. What is this feeling? I feel an overwhelming presence coming from the hole. I have never experienced anything like this before. The Fairy Empress could feel her entire body shivering from fear when she felt this divine presence. All of you stay alert. I'm going to see what's happening. That's too dangerous. You must stay here, Fairy Empress. Then do you want to go out there and investigate the hole for me? The Fairy Empress narrowed her eyes at the woman, who immediately closed her mouth and lowered her head, her answer clear. I thought so. Fairy Empress coldly sneered before flying out the window to approach the hole. However, just as she got close to the sky, she noticed a figure descending from this hole, and she immediately recognized that the divine presence she had been feeling this entire time was caused by this figure. An immortal. He's a true immortal. Fairy Empress cried inwardly as she realized his identity. Even though it was a guess, she had no doubt that this old man was an immortal that had reached an unfathomable level in the cultivation path. The Fairy Empress wanted to go up to the immortal and greet him, but she was also afraid to disturb him at the same time. Therefore, she could only hover in the sky and silently ponder whether she should approach him or not. While the Fairy Empress pondered, she suddenly felt a presence behind her, causing her to turn around. Fuck. The Fairy Empress cursed out loud when she was startled by the old man hovering behind her. When did he appear behind me? I didn't see him move at all, nor did I feel his presence until he allowed me to sense it. The Fairy Empress cried inwardly as she has never been snuck up on like this before. Despite her shock, the Fairy Empress straightened her back before bowing to the old man. This junior greets senior. The old man looked at her with a nonchalant gaze as he spoke. I am looking for a certain individual. Do you have any descriptions of this person? Fairy Empress asked. I do not. Although she was a little baffled, the Fairy Empress didn't change her expression and continued to ask, Then do you know how we can find this person? I do not. The old man repeated. This left the Fairy Empress speechless. How are they supposed to find someone without any information? Is he messing with me? The Fairy Empress wondered inwardly. No, I am not messing with you. The old man suddenly said. The Fairy Empress was dumbfounded when he heard the old man's response, and she thought for a second that she had accidentally spoken out loud just now. Please forgive this junior. She quickly apologized to him while thinking to herself, Did he just read my mind? And to her absolute surprise, the old man responded once again, "No, I did not read your mind. He's definitely reading my mind." Once she realized this, Fairy Empress immediately cleared her mind and tried her best to not think about anything. "Anyways, while I do not have any description about this person, he should be very easy to find," the old man said. Fairy Empress nodded and paid close attention to his next words. "This person. He's very talented. He's definitely messing with me," the Fairy Empress cried inwardly. However, the old man said, "I know you think I am messing with you, but I am not. This person, he's not your average genius. He's a once-in-lifetime genius. Also, he was only in this place for a brief moment not long ago. His surname should also be Tion. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." "Not long ago?" Fairy Empress raised her eyebrows, and a certain individual appeared in her head. "Don't tell me he's looking for the missing Dragon Emperor?" Fairy Empress swallowed nervously when she recalled that the old man could read her mind. But to her surprise, he didn't say anything this time. "Do you have someone in mind?" The old man noticed her expression and asked her, "Are you talking about the Dragon Emperor by any chance? He appeared out of the blue a while ago and vanished just as suddenly. We're also looking for him." "Dragon Emperor? Tell me more about him," the old man quickly said. The Fairy Empress nodded and began telling the old man about the Dragon Emperor without giving him all of the details, such as detaining him like a prisoner, as she was afraid that might offend this old man. "He called himself Yuan, and he told us that he'd come to the fifth heaven by accident through a teleport formation. The royal dragon family took him to their household, but he disappeared shortly after." "The royal dragon family?" The old man suddenly turned to look in a certain direction. The next moment, the Fairy Empress watched as the old man disappeared in front of her like a ghost. She looked around, and once she was certain that he was gone, she released a relieved sigh before flying back to her palace. As for the old man, he went to give the royal dragon family a visit. "I can sense his presence here as well. Did he really reincarnate into a dragon emperor? No, that shouldn't be possible." The old man mumbled to himself in a puzzled manner. The old man stopped pondering to himself and went inside the dragon royal family's household without knocking on the door. A moment later, he appeared inside the Dragon King's room. Once inside the room, the old man walked to the bed where the Dragon King was resting. The old man stared at the Dragon King's sleeping face for a moment before releasing a hint of killing intent. "Motherfucker." The Dragon King jumped out of his bed the instant he sensed the killing intent that nearly gave him a heart attack. Of course, a hint of killing intent coming from an immortal would be more than enough to startle even a spirit emperor to death. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 763, published at 16th of February 2022 6:09 and 14 seconds p.m. Chapter 763. 763 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 763. Heaven's Mandate. After springing up from his bed, the Dragon King looked around in a confused look. What in the heaven's name was that killing intent just now? The Dragon King was left puzzled when there was nobody in his room. Did I have a nightmare because of my stress? I haven't been able to sleep properly since the Dragon Emperor disappeared after all? The Dragon King released a deep sigh. However, just as the Dragon King laid back down on the bed, he heard a voice resound inside his room, and the voice sounded like it was responding to him. "No, you're not dreaming." The Dragon King's eyes snapped wide open, and that's when he saw the old man standing beside his bed. "Fuck, it's a ghost." The Dragon King screamed for his life. "Ghost? Can a ghost do this?" The old man suddenly released this divine aura that even though the Dragon King has never experienced before, he instinctively as a cultivator knew that this aura belonged to an immortal. "I immortal?" The Dragon King was even more shocked to learn that he had been woken up by an immortal than a ghost. "I'm looking for someone. Can you tell me more about this Dragon Emperor that you took to your household not long ago?" The Dragon Emperor? It took a while for the Dragon King to process the situation, but when he eventually did, he immediately kowtowed on the bed and apologized. "I'm sorry. The Dragon Emperor had disappeared in my home. We have been searching for him non-stop since his disappearance, but we haven't had any luck." The Dragon King mistook the old man as someone the royal dragon family had sent because the Dragon Emperor hasn't returned to his original home. "Tell me, why do you call him the Dragon Emperor? And what does he look like?" The old man asked the Dragon King even though he already asked the Fairy Empress, as he wanted to confirm the information. What? He was wearing an authentic pair of golden dragon robes, he had a dragon spatial ring, and he can even use dragon's gaze. The Dragon King responded. And he continued, as for his appearance, he was a young man with long black hair and brown eyes. His face also looked pure and kind. The old man silently pondered. They say he's a dragon emperor, but that's only because of his treasures. It doesn't really prove that he's a dragon emperor. Anybody can acquire the golden dragon robe and the dragon spatial ring in the upper heavens if they really try. As for his dragon's gaze, the master and the dragon ancestor were like brothers. It wouldn't be weird at all if the dragon ancestor taught him dragon's gaze. You said this dragon emperor suddenly disappeared, is that correct? Yes, that is correct. I left him in one of our guest rooms to rest, and when I went to check on him later, he was already gone. And you have no idea where he could have gone? Unfortunately. We have searched everywhere but we couldn't find him, almost as though he never existed in the first place. The Dragon King stopped talking when he suddenly realized the old man had disappeared. The Dragon King looked around the room, and to make sure the old man wasn't hiding somewhere to startle him again, he walked around the room even checking his closets. He's really gone. Or maybe he was never here in the first place. Was I hallucinating this entire time? Fuck. I really need some rest. The Dragon King shook his head and went back to bed, quickly falling asleep. Meanwhile, the old man hovered above the dragon royal family without alerting a single soul there. As expected of the master, you're a hard one to find. I thought it would be easier this time, but alas, I would like to investigate a little more, but I am out of time. It won't be long before they arrive. The old man shook his head and disappeared from the fifth heavens the next moment, almost as though had never existed. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. An hour after the old man disappeared from the fifth heaven, the sky suddenly turned golden, and the world became illuminated by this holy light. A massive hole appeared in the sky once again, but it was much larger than the previous. The people of the fifth heaven were shocked by this scene, but what they witnessed next was completely out of their expectations. A fairy empress. There's so many people descending from the hole in the sky. My eyes are working just fine. The fairy empress frowned at the scene. In the sky, 1,000 figures wearing silver armor and standing in a formation appeared from the gaping hole, and they all emitted a heavenly aura that made people subconsciously revere them. There was also a person in front of these soldiers, who was clearly leading this 1,000-strong army. This person was holding onto a large flag that had the words Heaven's Mandate on it, and when people saw this flag, they all got onto their knees and lowered their heads, almost as though they were afraid to confront this flag. Heaven's Mandate? What in heaven's name is the Celestial Emperor's army doing in the fifth heaven? The fairy empress muttered to herself in a low voice after she recognized the flag. Even though this is her first time seeing these people, she knew who they were and what they represented at glance. In fact, this was the case for everyone in the fifth heaven. And as the lord of the fifth heaven, the fairy empress was obligated to greet them, and that's exactly what she did after preparing herself. Greetings, Heaven's Mandate. I am the lord of the fifth heaven, fairy empress. She bowed to them in a respectful manner. The man leading the army approached her and spoke in a cold voice, I am General Li, and I am in charge of the third squad of the Heaven's Mandate. We have been tasked with capturing a dangerous criminal by the Celestial Emperor himself, and we have sensed his presence in this world not long ago. Dangerous criminal? The fairy empress raised her eyebrows, and for whatever reason, the old man appeared in her mind. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 764. Published at 16th of February 2022 6:09 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 764. 764 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 764. Stolen memories. You seem to know something. General Li said when he noticed the fairy empress expression. You see, a gaping hole appeared in the sky above the fairy paradise that's right beneath us about an hour before your arrival, and an old man with an unfathomable aura descended from it. Before the fairy empress could even finish her sentence, General Li exclaimed, That's him. What did you two speak about? Nothing much. He was looking for a certain individual, but he couldn't give any description or information about this individual. However, he did give me a surname, Tian. The fairy empress noticed General Li's face twisting with fear after hearing her words, and she wondered what this was all about. Titi, this Tian individual. Have you seen him? General Li asked her after a moment of silence. I don't know. I did tell the old man about a certain individual I came across not long ago, and the old man appeared to be interested in him. Fairy Empress said. Oh, tell me everything you know about this person. There is only one person in the 9 heavens that would make that old man come out of his hiding so blatantly. He must have sensed this person's presence here. The Fairy Empress quickly opened her mouth to respond, but she didn't utter a single word even many moments later. General Li raised his eyebrows in a puzzled manner. What's the matter, Fairy Empress? However, the Fairy Empress was just as puzzled as General Li. I don't know. I can't remember for some reason. Fairy Empress responded in a dumbfounded voice. I know I have met this person before, but I cannot remember his face or our conversations. It's almost as though it had been wiped from my memories. Fairy Empress continued to explain her phenomenon. Despite Fairy Empress' crazy talk, General Li did not seem to be angry at her. In fact, he had a look of understanding on his face. You just had your memories stolen by the old man. General Li said, shocking the Fairy Empress. What do you mean I had my memories stolen? She asked. The old man has a forbidden technique that can steal one's memories. He usually surprises his victims before taking away their memories, as that makes it easier for him to steal your memories. General Li explained to him. Fairy Empress' eyes widened with surprise upon learning about this information. Is this why the old man scared her by appearing behind her like a ghost? He did that to steal my memories? But I didn't even realize my memories had been stolen, and I probably would have never realized it if General Li never told me. Why did he not steal my memories of him? Wouldn't that be more logical? Fairy Empress asked a moment later. Because he's arrogant like that. He is aware that we've been chasing him and he purposefully allowed us to chase him. The reason he left your memories of him is so that we could confirm his presence had been here. After pondering for a bit, Fairy Empress spoke. Even though Head's stolen my memories, there are other people that have seen this person he's looking for. However, General Li shook his head and said, that won't work. The moment the old man stole your memories, he would know everyone that's involved and steal their memories as well. Although I am confident that's the case, we will still investigate just in case Head slip up. After all, it's been thousands of years since he last showed up. Fairy Empress swallowed nervously. She then led General Li and his people to see those who had met with Yuan before. Even though her memories had been stolen, it was only her memories of meeting and speaking with Yuan. Sometime later, General Li met with Elder Shui and the disciples that had met with Yuan before. Of course, the ladies were surprised to see so many men inside the fairy paradise. However, it was not as though the Fairy Empress could do anything about the situation, as these people were working directly for the Celestial Emperor, the most powerful individual in the 9 heavens. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Have you seen an old man recently? Fairy Empress asked them. And to her surprise, all of them nodded their heads. I thought I was only seeing things. The old man appeared behind me like a ghost while I was working inside my room, but when I blinked, he was gone. Elder Shui said. That happened to me as well. I was taking a bath in the lake when I noticed an old man staring at me from behind the trees. I was terrified at that time, but when I looked again, he had vanished like a ghost. Everybody there recalled their experience with the creepy old man who was appearing and vanishing like a real ghost. General Li wasn't surprised, but just in case, he asked them about their encounter with Yuan. In the end, of them could remember Yuan's face or their conversations with him, but they could remember their encounter with him. Sometime later, General Li said to the Fairy Empress, if he ever shows up again or you remember something about this Tian, use this jade slip to contact me. General Li and his 1,000-strong army departed the fairy paradise and went to the royal dragon family. Inside the royal guest room, the Dragon King sat before General Li with a profound frown on his face. I cannot remember this person's face or name, but I do recall his identity as a Dragon Emperor. The Dragon King said. Dragon Emperor? General Li raised his eyebrows. Yes, the old man asked me about the Dragon Emperor. I remember taking the Dragon Emperor to our home, but he disappeared shortly after. That's the extent of my memories. The Dragon King sighed. And he asked General Li, if you don't mind me asking, why are you looking for this old man? I thought he was only a hallucination of mine because of my lack of sleep. After a moment of silence, General Li spoke in a solemn voice. The day the old man reunites with Tian, the 9 heavens will erupt with chaos. That's all I can say since that's all I know. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: You can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 765. Published at 19th of February 2022 11:18 and 10 seconds AM. Chapter 765. 765. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 765. Within the seventh heaven, the 9 heavens will erupt with chaos? That sounds like a calamity I don't want to experience. The Dragon King muttered in a dazed voice. He could have never imagined how serious the situation was, and he couldn't fathom how an old man meeting with someone could possibly start a calamity in the 9 heavens. Anyways, I will speak with everyone that has encountered this person. The old man wiped from their memories just in case they remember. General Li said to the Dragon King. The Dragon King nodded his head and proceeded to send everyone that had encountered Yuan to speak with General Li. In the end, all of them had their memories stolen from them. That old man stole our memories? How is that even possible? He never even got close to me. The victims were in disbelief after learning about it. The old man possesses an ancient technique that allows him to steal your memories. Although it loses its effects in the upper heavens, this technique works flawlessly against cultivators with inferior cultivation. Anyways, I have spent enough time here. I must return and report my findings to the Celestial Emperor. General Li left the royal dragon family's household shortly after and returned to the upper heavens with the rest of the heavens mandate. Meanwhile, somewhere in the upper heavens, the old man returned to the jade tablet and sighed. After looking at their memories of you, I am reminded of your brilliance during your prime days. Oh, how I wish I could watch you grow this time as well. But alas, it seems like fate is trying its hardest to keep me away from you. This must be those bastards doing. Unfortunately for them, not even fate can hold you down now. It will only be a matter of time before you return to us and seize the heaven that you rightfully own. The old man lowered his body until he was on his knees, and he kowtowed to the jade tablet in a revering manner, almost as though he was praying to his god. While all of this was happening, Yuan was listening to Yenhara talk about the demonic realm. And soon after the divine paragon sealed off the demonic realm, pretty much everyone had forgotten about it as it was no longer of their concern. Any questions? Yenhara asked him. Just one. Yuan nodded and he continued to ask, where is the demonic realm right now? Where? Yenhara raised her eyebrows, wondering to herself why he wanted to know such information, as it sounded like he wanted to go there. It's located in the 7th heaven, and it's heavily guarded by the Demon Sealing clan and the Demon Sealing Grotto to make sure nobody messes with the seal. Why do you want to know? Do you want to visit the place? Yenhara had to ask him. Yuan didn't lie and confirmed her suspicions. Yes, I am a little interested in the demonic realm, and I was wondering if I could take a look at it. Unfortunately, only those at the top of the Demon Sealing clan are allowed to get close to the demonic realm. Anybody that tries to get close without permission, regardless of their identity, will be slain. The Demon Sealing clan takes the safety of the seal extremely seriously after all. If you really want to visit the place, you will need to increase your influence within the Demon Sealing clan. If you become the leader, you can go anywhere you want. Yenhara said with a suggestive smile on her face. You really want me to become the leader, huh? Yuan couldn't help but smile at her stubbornness. If you become the leader, it will almost be like the divine paragon has returned, like living a historical event. I will think about it. Yuan sighed. Please do. Yenhara chuckled. Sometime later, Yuan asked Yenhara, now that I am an advanced demon sealer, can I take a look at the demon sealing techniques? Sure thing. Follow me. Yenhara stood up and brought Yuan to another room, where 12 jade tablets existed. Yuan immediately began looking through the tablets, and he realized that he recognized a couple of these techniques from his memories. As the creator of these techniques, he should recognize all of these techniques, but he only recovered a small portion of his memories, hence his situation. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I'm going to spend a few days here if you don't mind. Yuan turned to look at Yenhara. You can stay here for as long as you'd like. If you have any questions, I will always be here. Yenhara said. She then retrieved a jade slip from her spatial ring before handing it to him. This is my communication jade slip. Use this to contact me whenever you're in the Grand Library and have any questions. Thank you. Yuan accepted the jade slip. Then I will leave you alone for now. Yenhara said to him before leaving the place. Once he was left alone, Yuan sat before one of the jade tablets and began trying to comprehend the technique. While Yuan focused on the jade tablets, the other cultivators there would watch him from a distance. Isn't he the rumored little founder? I think so. He looks so much like the divine paragon statue. I thought it was a hoax, but now that I am seeing him with my own eyes, I feel a little foolish. The people in the room wanted to approach Yuan out of curiosity, but seeing how he was focused on the jade tablet, nobody bothered him. I heard he accepted Senior Yen as his lecturer? What a lucky one. Many people want to be taught by her, but she always refuses them. I think he is her first student. I would be surprised if she didn't accept him. Didn't you know that she's a huge divine paragon fanatic? Rumor has it that she's even part of some cult that treats the divine paragon as their god. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 766. Published at 21st of February 2022 5:09 and 32 seconds AM. Chapter 766. 766. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 766. Divine Paragon fanatics. A couple of days have passed since Yuan started studying the divine rank demon sealing techniques, and he has managed to learn all 12 techniques in this short time. It's almost time for me to visit the Chi family. Thankfully, I managed to learn all of these techniques before then. Yuan thought to himself as he prepared to leave. However, right as he prepared to log off, Yen Hara showed up in the room and said to him, "Little founder, I want you to meet a few of my friends." Yuan turned to look at the entrance, and to his surprise, there was a small group of beautiful women being led by Yen Hara. The moment these beautiful women laid their eyes on Yuan, they began screaming, the excitement type of scream. Wow, it's really him. I'm having a hard time believing it even though he's standing right there. Heavens! He really looks like the divine paragon. I thought you were exaggerating, but alas. I'm sorry for doubting you, senior sister. The group of women quickly surrounded Yuan and even started touching him as though he was a doll. Hey, I told you girls that you cannot touch him. Yen Hara quickly intervened. Sorry, little founder. These girls are all big fans of the divine paragon, and they begged me to take them to you after they heard the rumors. It's all right, Yuan said with a stiff smile on his face. He wasn't unfamiliar with being idolized. In fact, he has been in even more crowded situations. Excuse me, little founder. Can I take a picture of you? One of the ladies there suddenly asked him. A picture? Yuan raised his eyebrows. He wondered how taking pictures work in this world. I will give you this treasure as a compensation. The woman then showed him a beautiful necklace that radiated with a profound aura. Oh, are you seriously going to trade that treasure for a picture, junior sister? Yuan silently stared at the necklace for a moment before shaking his head. It's fine, I don't need the treasure. It's just a picture, right? I will do it for free. Yuan said to her. Really? Thank you. Really? Thank you, little founder. The woman was ecstatic by the results. Please follow me. The woman said to him. Yuan nodded and followed her to the area with the divine paragon statue. Can you stand beside the statue and look in my direction? Sure. Once Yuan was standing beside the statue, the woman said, Now can you do this pose? Seeing her pose, Yuan placed his arms behind his back like a scholar. Great. Now give me the best smile you've got. Yuan pondered for a moment before putting a gentle smile on his face. That's perfect. Now stay like that for a few minutes. The woman suddenly retrieved a large piece of blank paper and a brush, and she quickly began drawing on the piece of paper while staring at Yuan the entire time. This is what she meant by taking a picture? Yuan was dumbfounded by the results. He could have never predicted that she would start drawing him on the spot with a brush. About 15 minutes later, the woman finally stopped looking at Yuan to look at the result of her art. Perfect. The woman exclaimed in a trembling voice. She then turned the paper around to show Yuan her work, and to his absolute surprise, the art looked incredibly surreal, almost as though he was actually living inside the painting. What do you think? She asked him. I'm speechless. I have never seen such a beautiful painting before, and it only took you a few minutes to draw such a masterpiece. Yuan couldn't fathom it. The woman didn't change her brush during the entire process, so he expected the painting to be black and white, but when he saw the painting, it was vivid with colors. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. You may not believe it, but she's actually a really famous painter within the 9 heavens. Yen Hara said to him. There are many people out there that wish to be painted by her, and it would usually cost them an arm and leg. Yen Hara chuckled. This is actually her first time seeing this woman willing to draw someone for free. In fact, she even wanted to pay to paint him. Anyways, I demand a copy of that painting, Sister Sunday. I am the reason you got that painting today after all. Sister Sun nodded and said, don't worry, I will make a copy for everyone in the family. Family? Your siblings? Yuan asked. Not that kind of family. Yenhara showed him a mysterious smile. Seeing her weird smile, Yuan figured that it would be for the best if he didn't ask about it. Little founder here. Sister Sun suddenly extended her hand to him. Yuan looked at the necklace in her hand and shook his head. I already said I don't need any payment. I know. This is not a payment. This is a gift to celebrate our encounter. That's all. Although Yuan was still reluctant to accept such a precious-looking treasure, he had to accept it when Sister Sun basically forced it into his hands. Thank you. Yuan said to her afterward. Sometime later Yuan said to Yenhara, Senior, I will be away for a while. I don't know when I will return to this place. That's completely fine, but try to show up a month from now. There will be a competition amongst demon sealers. I will tell you more about it when the time comes. Okay. A month, right? I will be here. After speaking with the ladies for a couple more minutes, Yuan logged off Cultivation Online and began his preparations for his trip to the Qi family. Near the end of the day, the manager showed up to his house to notify him that they will be leaving tomorrow. Meet me in the front at sunrise. She said to him. I understand. Yuan acknowledged. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 767, published at 21st of February 2022 5:09 and 31 seconds AM. Chapter 767. 767. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 767. Fearing for his life. By the way, how long will I be staying with the Qi family? Yuan asked the manager before she left. You can leave whenever you want, she said to him as she walked away. That night, Chu Liuxiang asked him, You'll be visiting my master's family tomorrow, right? Can I come with you? The mountain lord said that I should go alone since the Qi family doesn't like guests. Yuan said. I see. How long will you be gone for? I'm not sure, but I will try to come back as soon as possible. Stay safe out there. The only one I need to be wary of is your master. I hope she doesn't hold a grudge after because I left her sealed. Yuan sighed. Master may be arrogant and a little hot-headed, she's not an unreasonable person. If you speak with her, I'm sure she'll forgive you. I hope so. Good night, darling. Good night. The following morning, Yuan met up with the manager, who was waiting at the front of his building in a luxurious red car. Get in the back, she said to him. Once Yuan was in the car, the manager took off and began driving down the mountain. However, the speed she was descending the mountain at was a little unnaturally fast. Yuan quickly realized that the manager was a reckless driver who would drift at even the slightest curve in the road, and she was basically speeding down the mountain at a ridiculous speed. Yuan has never really feared for his life outside of, but riding in the same car as the manager made him feel insecure about his safety, and he worried that they might die at any moment. Once they left the Dragon Spiral Mountain, Yuan expected the manager to slow down, but alas, she only sped up. Shouldn't you slow down a little? Yuan could no longer stay silent and said to her. Why? The manager said, dumbfounding him. What? It's dangerous to be going this fast, not to mention illegal. Well, be fine. The manager said in a nonchalant manner before increasing the speed by 10 more miles. By now, they were going at least 140 miles per hour, and Yuan was prepared to jump out of the car at any moment. After a few minutes of this madness, Yuan could hear the sound of police sirens blaring from behind them. However, instead of stopping for the police, the manager actually increased the speed. She's crazy. Yuan cried inwardly. He never expected the manager to be such a lunatic, and he swore to himself that he would never sit in a car with her ever again as long as she was behind the wheels. The police sirens only got louder as more and more police cars appeared behind them, yet the car continued to zoom forward. Eventually, they arrived at a spacious lot that had a dozen airplanes and even private jets stationed. Once they arrived before a specific red jet, the manager finally stopped the car. The moment their car stopped, the police cars that had been chasing them immediately surrounded the car. Get out of the vehicle with your hands up. One of the policemen shouted with a megaphone right in front of his mouth. What now? Yuan asked. The manager didn't respond to him and took out her own megaphone before speaking into it with a tranquil voice. "Why don't you idiots run the license already and get out of my way?" When the police heard her words, they immediately ran her car's license plate through their system. Once the results came in, the entire place turned dead silent. Yuan could see the police mumbling to each other, but he couldn't hear their words. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. A few minutes later, the policeman with the megaphone spoke again, but he sounded more respectful this time. "There has been a misunderstanding. Please forgive us. We'll leave you alone right now." What? Yuan was baffled by the police's confusing response. He thought they were only playing along for the heck of it, but sure enough, the police returned to their cars before driving away as though nothing had happened. This is the influence of the Dragon Spiral Mountain, and as long as you live within the mountain you represent us. Never forget this. The manager suddenly said to him. "You caused all of this chaos just to prove this point?" Yuan was utterly speechless. "No, this is how I normally drive." The manager then got out of the car and said to him, "Let's go." Yuan immediately frowned when he saw the manager walking towards the jet before them. "Don't tell me you're going to drive this plane as well?" he asked her while silently hoping that was not the case. "No, I am not." Yuan sighed a breath of relief after hearing her words, but he almost choked on air after hearing her next sentence. "You're going to be the one driving it? You want a blind man with no experience to drive a plane? Is this some kind of punishment you're giving me because of what I did to the Chu family?" Yuan had a feeling that she was making things difficult for him on purpose as a way to punish him. "I have no idea what you're talking about. As for driving the plane, even a 10-year-old can do it. Hurry up and get on the plane already. We're going to be late at this rate," the manager said as she entered the plane. "What about your car? Just leave it there. Somebody will take care of it later," she said. Once they were both inside the plane, the manager shut the door and led him to the cockpit. She pointed at the obvious red button and said, "Just press that button and the plane will enter autopilot. I'm going to sleep, so you're going to watch the plane. Don't press anything else unless you want to crash the plane." And without explaining anything else, the manager went to one of the rooms in the back to sleep, leaving Yuan alone and dumbfounded in the cockpit. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 768, published at 21st of February 2022 6:18 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 768. 768 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 768. Chi family. After staring at the red button for a few minutes, Yuan eventually gave up and pressed it, his fingers trembling while doing so. Immediately after pressing the button, the plane began to move, and Yuan watched as the plane turned towards the flight path and started moving without needing him to do anything. A few moments later they were in the air. Seeing that they were flying without any problems, Yuan released a sigh of relief, but even then he could not leave the cockpit unattended, so he sat in one of the two chairs and proceeded to just enjoy the scenery with his divine sense. Of course, since he was using divine sense, he was able to see the manager sleeping peacefully inside her room. She really went to sleep. He thought she was only saying that to mess with him, but turns out she was telling the truth. And while he sat in the cockpit, Yuan would use this time to continue trying to learn technique transmission. 8 hours later, Yuan noticed the plane tilting downwards. It's descending? This should mean we're close to the Chi family. Half an hour later, the plane landed itself on a medium-sized island surrounded by water. The Chi family really lives on an island. Sometime later, Yuan left the cockpit and went to knock on the manager's door. "Manager, we have arrived." However, the manager remained sleeping inside. Yuan knocked on the door a couple more times before going into her room and shaking her awake. "Manager, wake up. We have landed." The manager sat up on the bed with a drowsy expression and saliva drooling from her mouth. She stared at Yuan for a moment before snapping out of her daze and shouting with a flushed face, "Ji, get out. I will be with you later." "All right," Yuan said with a smile on his face, which only made the manager's face flush even more. After leaving the plane, Yuan waited for the manager, who showed up 5 minutes later with a cold expression on her face, and she looked more angry than normal. "Follow me," she said as she walked ahead. Meanwhile, a few miles ahead, the Chi family was preparing for the meeting. "Chi Fong, come with us. There's going to be a meeting with the manager of the Dragon Spiral Mountain soon." Apparently, the Lord wants us to work with someone to deal with the demons in the mountain. An old man said to a beautiful woman when he encountered her in the hallways. Okay. Qi Fang nodded and she followed him into the meeting room. Once they were seated, Qi Fang said, I know the 11 demons within the Dragon Spiral Mountain is a calamity waiting to happen, but we should deal with our own problem before we help others. I know what you're thinking, but we're also receiving help from him. This person they're sending here, he will assist us with our problem. Who is this person anyway? The Lord didn't give any specifics, but he did guarantee us that he's very experienced with demons. Experienced with demons? Qi Fang frowned upon hearing this. I swear to God, if it's that bastard. Meanwhile, after walking for about half an hour, Yuan and the manager arrived before the Qi family's household. Once they were at the front gate, the manager rang the bell and waited for a response. A few moments later, a middle-aged woman wearing traditional clothing showed up to open the gate. Welcome to the Qi family, manager. The elders are expecting your presence in the meeting room. The manager and Yuan entered the estate and followed the middle-aged woman to a medium-sized building shaped like a pavilion beside the main household. The middle-aged woman knocked on the door and said out loud, Elders, the manager and her friend have arrived. Let them in. A voice quickly responded. The middle-aged woman opened the door and gestured for them to enter. Once they entered the building, Yuan immediately felt an unpleasant gaze directed at him, and when he looked at this person giving him the glares, it was a familiar face. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Sure enough, it was Senior Qi, who was also known as Qi Fang. Welcome, manager and little friend. An old man stood up and greeted them with clasped hands. Yuan returned his greetings and said, Good morning, my name is Yuan. Yuan? The one who assisted the 6 spiritual families in subjugating the demon? I heard about you. I didn't think you would be the one coming here today. The old woman sitting beside the old man said. By the way, I am Qi Huan, she added. Im Qi Man, retired patriarch of the Qi family. The old man said. Qi Fang. Senior Qi said in a low voice. Chem? What's the matter, Chair? Why do you have a frown on your face? Qi Man asked her. It's nothing. Qi Fang stopped frowning the next moment. Nobody in the Qi family was aware of her fight with Yuan, as it was too embarrassing for her to admit that she'd lost to a junior like him. Anyways, have a seat. Qi Huan pointed at the chairs. Once they sat down, the manager said, As the Lord has promised, Yuan will help you with your problem. In return, you will help us with our problem. Of course. If he can really assist us, we will spare no effort dealing with your demons. Huh. You never told me anything about helping them. Yuan suddenly said. You didn't? The Qi family turned to look at the manager with raised eyebrows. I forgot, said the manager in a calm voice. She then turned to look at Yuan and continued, You will be helping them kill a demon. What? Yuan exclaimed. He thought he came here to make friends with the Qi family, not kill demons for them. Furthermore, why would they need his help when they are all demon sealers themselves? It made no sense. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 769. Published at 23rd of February 2022 4:09 and 15 seconds p.m. Chapter 769. 769 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 769. Entering seclusion. Wait a second. Why do you need my help killing a demon? Aren't you guys a demon-sealing clan? If you need my help killing your demon, how will you help us with our 11 demons? Yuan asked them what was on his mind. I understand your confusion, so allow me to explain it to you. Qi Man said. And he continued, although we are indeed a family that has dedicated itself to dealing with demons since ancient times, we do not actually have the capability to kill demons, only prolong their seal. There is a powerful demon that is currently sealed on this island, but its seal is getting weaker. We have been resealing this demon since ancient times, and it has gotten to the point where our techniques are no longer effective on it, so it will eventually break out of its seal and kill us all, and it is only a matter of time before it happens. We heard rumors that the 6 spiritual families had managed to kill a demon, but we do not entirely believe such a rumor. After all, the 6 spiritual families do not have the capability to seal demons, much less kill them. Since you were there, can you enlighten us on how such a thing happened? We tried asking them about it, but they refused to tell us the truth. After a moment of silence, Yuan said, Because I was the one who killed the demon, and they hid the fact to protect me. The room immediately fell silent. Qi Fang already knew this fact, but her grandparents were hearing this information for the first time, so they wore shocked expressions on their faces afterward. Why you killed the demon? How? Qi Man eventually snapped out of his daze to ask. Sorry, it's not that I don't want to tell you, I just don't know how to explain it. Yuan shook his head. The old couples exchanged looks with each other. After a moment of silence, Qi Man stood up and said, Follow me. I will show you the demon. Yuan nodded and followed them outside. After following this narrow path to an open area, Yuan could see over a dozen people guarding this large tree on a small hill. When they got close, the guards greeted the old couple. Let us through. My friend here would like to see the demon, Qi Man said. The guards turned to look at Yuan and nodded silently, not that they had any choice. Once they were on the hill, Qi Man pointed at the tree and said, There is a demon sealed within this tree. Go around it and you should see it. Yuan nodded and walked around this tree, and sure enough, he could see a hideous-looking demon with a bulky body coexisting with this tree. Dong. The moment Yuan approached this demon, the entire island began shaking. It won't be long before this demon breaks out of its seal. This is already the 4th earthquake this month. Qi Huan sighed. Do you think you can kill it without breaking it out of its seal? Qi Man asked him. In order to kill a demon, you must separate its core with the body or destroy the demon faster than it can regenerate. Yuan said. Since it's sealed, I won't be able to extract its core without breaking it out of the seal. As for the second method, I'm not sure I am capable of killing a demon, but I can try. Really? Does this mean you'll help us? Qi Huan asked him. I will help you if you accept one of my conditions. What condition? I get to keep its demon core after killing it. Demon core? Qi Man raised his eyebrows. This is his first time hearing about such a thing. If you kill the demon, it's only natural that you get whatever it leaves behind. Okay. I will need to prepare first. Yuan said. Whatever you need, my Qi family will supply it. I don't need anything, only time and a place where I cannot be disturbed. After all, he only needed to learn the heaven-splitting sword strike to kill the demon. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I know the perfect place. Follow me. Yuan then followed Qi Man back down the hill and onto another path, which led him to a large cave. Immortal caves? Yuan raised his eyebrows. That's right. This is our Qi family's immortal caves. The spiritual energy here is the best, and you won't be disturbed by anybody. How long do you think you will need to prepare? Qi Man then asked. A week to be safe. I understand. Qi Man nodded. Yuan then turned to the manager and asked her, Can you let my friends back at home know about the situation? I don't want them to worry when I don't return even after a week. The manager silently nodded. Thank you. Yuan entered one of the available immortal caves shortly after and went into seclusion to learn the heaven-splitting sword strike. Once Yuan went into seclusion, the Qi family and the manager returned to the household. Do you really think he is capable of killing the demon? He looks too young. Qi Huan expressed her worries to the manager. After a moment of silence, the manager said, I don't know, but the Lord seems to believe in his abilities. Well, I think he's a lot more capable than he appears. Qi Fang suddenly said. The old couple turned to look at her and said, You have been acting weird all day long. Do you by any chance know that boy? Qi Fang's eyebrows twitched after hearing their words, and after releasing a deep sigh, she decided to tell them the truth, at least some of it. Yes, I know him. We met very briefly at the Chu family, and we had an exchange with each other. It was during that time that I experienced for myself a little of what he's capable of, and he's a lot stronger than he looks. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 770. Published at 23rd of February 2022 4:09 and 14 seconds p.m. Chapter 770. 770 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 770. I will handle it. After speaking with the Qi family, the manager called Mixia's phone to let her know about the situation. Hello. This is the manager of the Dragon Spiral Mountain. Is this Mixia's phone number? Yes, this is Meishio speaking. Did something happen to Yuan? Meishio quickly asked about Yuan. No, I am just calling to let you know that he will be staying at the Qi family for a little longer than anticipated. I understand. Can I speak to him? Meishio asked after a moment of silence. Unfortunately, he's currently in seclusion, so he will not be able to speak with you. Wait. What do you mean by that? Why is he in seclusion? The manager proceeded to explain the whole situation to Meishio. He's going to fight a demon? Meixius' anxious voice resounded after hearing everything. Not exactly. He's going to exterminate a sealed demon. How is that any different? Meishio frowned. Does it really matter? In the end he agreed to it. How long will this take? About a week, said the manager. I understand. I will tell the others. Just make sure he's safe. As much as I hate that idea, it is my job as the manager of the Dragon Spiral Mountain to keep its residents safe, no matter how much I dislike that resident. Once the connection stopped, Meishio went to notify the others about the situation while the manager and the Chi family waited for Yuan to emerge from his seclusion. A week passed by in a flash, and during this time the island shook 3 more times. Is he coming out of his seclusion anytime soon? It's already been a week and the demon is showing signs of unsealing. Chi Fang complained as she stood in front of Yuan's immortal cave with the others. You know what? I think we should go inside and see what the hell is taking him so long. We don't have any more time. Just as Chi Fang began approaching the immortal cave, a figure emerged from the cave entrance. Took you long enough. I sincerely hope that you're fully prepared. It's been a week. Chi Fang said to Yuan, who just finished his seclusion. Sorry it took longer than expected. Yuan said. Since the heaven-splitting sword strike is actually part of another divine rank technique, he had to improve his heaven's secret art first, which is harder than learning even an ancient rank technique. I am ready to kill the demon. Let's go. Yuan then said. Sometime later they arrived at the tree on the hill. So, how are you going to exterminate it? Chi Man asked once they were standing in front of the sealed demon that had cracks appearing all over its body. I am going to destroy it using my technique. Technique? A demon sealing technique? No, it's a powerful technique that can obliterate everything in its path. I have killed a demon before using this technique. Yuan said. Stay back. I don't want anybody to be caught up in the blast. Once everybody was at a safe distance, Yuan summoned the Empyrean Overlord and started gathering all of the spiritual energy in the air. What the heck is he doing? Chi Fang mumbled in a low voice. I don't know, but whatever he's doing, it's going to be big and powerful. The manager said in a dazed voice. She has never seen such a massive amount of spiritual energy gathered in one spot before. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan took his time gathering as much spiritual energy as he could since he didn't want to take any chances with this bulky demon. While Yuan gathered his strength, the island began shaking again. The demon. It's pulsating with light. Chi Huan pointed at the demon in the tree that was glowing red in a heartbeat rhythm. This is the closest they have seen a demon being unsealed, and they were getting goosebumps all over their bodies. A few minutes later, Yuan was finally finished with charging his strike. After taking a deep breath, Yuan swung his sword and released all of the spiritual energies that he had gathered, shooting a bright beam of light at the sealed demon. Boom. The beam consumed the entire tree and most of the hill, instantly evaporating it. This shocked the Chi family and the manager, as they have never seen anything this destructive before. It's just like a nuclear weapon. Chi Man mumbled in a dazed voice. Yuan fell to his knees and began gasping for air after releasing the heaven-splitting sword strike, feeling as though half of his energy had been drained from that one attack. However, before he could even catch his breath, he suddenly heard Chi Fang's screaming voice, Yuan. In front of you. Yuan immediately used his divine sense to look at the scene before him, and to his absolute shock and horror, there was a glob of red slimy substance on the ground that was moving around as though it was alive. I didn't manage to kill it? Did I not use enough spiritual energy? No. I used even more than the last time. This demon must be far stronger than the one in the mystic realm. Yuan turned to look at the Chi family and shouted at them, Leave this place immediately. I will handle the demon. Are you sure? We can assist you. Chi Fang said out loud. I'm sure. Just leave. I will handle it. Trust me. Chi Fang looked at the others and they all nodded at each other before leaving the place to alert the others. Shortly after the others left, the red substance started forming into a large, bulky figure, and in just a few moments, it managed to completely recover, becoming a full demon again. It silently stared at Yuan with a calm expression for a moment before showing an ugly smile on its face. That hurt like hell, human. You're going to pay for waking this supreme one up in such a rude fashion. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 771. Published at 26th of February 2022, 10:39 and 9 seconds AM. Chapter 771. 771. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 771. Toying with the demon. I thought you demons couldn't feel pain. Yuan said to the demon in a calm voice after hearing its words. And calling yourself the Supreme One when you're just a lowly demon that had been sealed for heaven knows how long. You're full of it. Oh? You not only dare to speak back to me but also mock me? Since when have humans become so brave? The grin on the demon's face grew wider, and its bloodlust and aura continued to rise. It only has the strength of a spirit grandmaster. How did it survive my heaven-splitting sword strike? And it looks slightly different compared to the other demons I have encountered so far. Yuan wondered to himself. Furthermore, demons would normally get angry at the slightest provocation, yet this demon managed to remain calm despite Yuan's mockery. There was just something different about this demon. The demon looked at its surroundings and asked, "How long have I been sealed? And where am I?" You're asking the wrong person. And even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. Is that so? Then I have no reason to keep you alive any longer. I will kill you and find someone else to entertain me, and then I will replenish my strength by eating everyone in this place. The demon stretched its thick neck left and right as it slowly approached Yuan in a menacing manner. Once it was halfway to Yuan, it suddenly disappeared from its spot. Yuan quickly raised the Empyrean Overlord in front of him in a defensive manner, and the next second, he was sent flying backward by a powerful strike from the demon. You managed to block my strike? Even though my strength has diminished greatly after being sealed for so long, it's still very impressive. This is going to be fun. The bulky demon laughed out loud. This demon is strong. Yuan quickly stabilized himself after being sent flying. However, he wasn't feeling worried even in the slightest. In fact, he was even a little excited. Even though the artificial demons are very useful, they cannot compare to real demons. I'm going to take this chance to practice with a real demon. Yuan could have sealed the demon while it was still recovering. However, he purposefully allowed the demon to fully recover just so he could use it as a training puppet. It was an incredibly selfish and risky thing to do as it could backfire on him and the Qi family, but Yuan went ahead and risked it anyway for some reason. Yuan began approaching the demon and said, "If you don't hurry up and kill me, I will seal you again, and this time, you won't be able to escape ever again." The bulky demon's muscles began moving around like there were live worms in its body after hearing Yuan's words that had clearly affected it. You just gave me another reason to kill you. The demon suddenly disappeared from its spot again, but it did not escape from Yuan's divine sense. Yuan turned around and swung the Empyrean Overlord with incredible force. The demon that had just appeared behind him subconsciously blocked the strike with its bare arms. The Empyrean Overlord tore right through the demon's arms and severed them before sending the demon's body flying into the distance. Not bad. Not bad at all. The demon laughed as its body clashed into dozens of trees. Once it regained its footing, the demon leaped into the air and began throwing spears made out of its blood at Yuan. Seal. Yuan roared, and a powerful ripple of demon-sealing aura swept the scene, instantly halting the blood spears midair and turning them into stone. Feeling slight stiffness in its body, the demon frowned, and it stopped taking the situation lightly and saw Yuan as a real threat. Meanwhile, Qi Fang stopped running after a few minutes. "Why are you stopping?" Qi Huan asked her. Qi Fang frowned and said, "This doesn't feel right at all. Why do we have to run like some coward? We are the Qi family. I'm not going to let him fight the demon alone. I have been training for this day even before I could start walking. You guys can go ahead and go back to the Qi family. I'm going to go help him. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." And without waiting for a response, Qi Fang began running back the way she came from. "I will go after her," the manager said to the old couple before chasing after Qi Fang. "Shit." Qi Man cursed out loud before turning to look at the guards that guarded the sealed demons before and continued, "Go back and warn the family. We cannot let a guest do our jobs for us." "Yes. I will come with you," Qi Huan said to him, and they also started running back to the hill. However, when they returned to the hill, they were shocked to see the destruction that had ravaged the place. Most of the trees there were either destroyed or burned, and there were many holes and even ground fissures as far as their eyes could see. How the hell did they manage to cause such destruction in just a few minutes? Qi Fang cried out loud when she saw the scenery. Boom. The earth shook with loud noises that sounded like thunder every few seconds, but it was not an earthquake and the sky was as clear as it could be. They're over there. Qi Man suddenly pointed to two figures fighting in the distance. However, when they looked closely, they realized that it was not even a fight at all, but a one-sided beatdown. Heavens, he really didn't need our help. Qi Huan mumbled in a dazed voice as she watched Yuan toss the demon around with his giant sword. Yuan's attacks were so relentless and fierce that the demon could barely react to them, and when the demon would try to retaliate, he would seal the demon's body just enough so that it could not move without completely sealing it. This bastard. He's toying with the demon. Qi Fang was in disbelief. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 772. Published at 26th of February 2022 10:39 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 772. 772. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 772. How will it taste? What in God's name is going on? How is he doing that? Qi Man mumbled in a voice of disbelief as he watched Yuan throw the demon left and right like some kind of stressed toy. Do you think he still needs our help? Qi Huan asked in a sarcastic tone. Suddenly, the demon released a deafening roar that shook the world. How dare a puny human play with me? I will make you pay. I will make you pay. The demon's body began growing larger and larger until it was nearly twice its original size, becoming a mini giant. Yuan had seen this kind of transformation before from the demon at the Jaded Garden, so he knew that he should stop playing around and actually take care of the demon once and for all before he makes a mistake and gets himself and everyone killed. The demon released another loud roar before summoning two large greatswords with its own blood and wielding it. It then leaped at Yuan with intense bloodlust radiating from its body. However, before it could even begin falling back down, the demon felt something pierce its face. It wasn't painful, but its vision blacked out for a second, and when its vision recovered after the gaping hole in its face was healed, the demon could see that Yuan had suddenly appeared in front of it. In the end, you weren't anything too special besides being a decent punching bag. Yuan said to the demon right before extending his empty hand towards the demon's chest and grabbing the red crystal embedded within, tearing it right out of its body. The demon fell directly to the ground afterward, but it wasn't dead yet. It slowly got back to its feet and looked at Yuan with a puzzled face. What the fuck are you doing? Did you really think that by removing my crystal that'd kill me? The demon asked Yuan. You can beat me up as much as you want, but you won't kill me and you will eventually run out of spiritual energy. You can try to seal me, but that also will only prolong your life by a little longer. You don't have the capabilities to kill me. The demon suddenly halted its speech when it realized that its crystal was not returning to its body. Normally, when their crystal is removed, it would return to their body just like the rest of their body, hence the demon's confusion at this moment. You said that you wouldn't die even if I destroyed this crystal, right? Let's test that theory. Yuan showed the demon his hand, where its crystal was resting. The demon immediately began sweating profusely. The reason the demon said that it wouldn't die even if Yuan destroyed the crystal was simply because it didn't think that Yuan had the capabilities to truly destroy the crystal, since it would simply recover just like the rest of its body. That's not possible. Why you? Who are you? The demon roared at Yuan. You don't recognize me? I thought all demons would recognize my face. Yuan raised his eyebrows. Why the fuck would I recognize a nobody like? The demon suddenly halted mid-sentence again, and it narrowed its eyes to focus on Yuan's face. Perhaps its memories haven't fully resurfaced after being sealed for so long, but as it stared at Yuan's face, the more it got the feeling that it'd seen him somewhere before. After digging through its memories, the demon finally realized why Yuan looked so familiar. Why? It can't be. The demon began shaking from top to bottom, and its prideful face became filled with fear. What did I used to say? Yuan suddenly began pondering for some reason. All right. When he remembered, he slowly approached the demon with a mysterious smile on his face. This was the perfect chance for the demon to strike, but it was so stricken by fear that it couldn't even move properly. Once Yuan was standing right in front of the demon, he mumbled in a low but clear voice, I wonder how your demon core will taste? Almost as though something had triggered inside the demon, it suddenly turned around and began running away like its life depended on it. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The scene of the demon running away in fear shocked Qi Fang and the others. They couldn't comprehend the situation, nor could they imagine what Yuan said to the demon that would make it react in such a manner. However, before the demon could run very far, Yuan crushed the red crystal in his grasp, and the moment the crystal shattered, the demon also froze its movements. The next moment, almost like it suddenly turned water, the demon melted into a pool of red blood, leaving behind its demon core. Yuan quickly went to pick up the demon core before putting it inside his pocket, saving it for later. It was also at this moment that backup from the Qi family arrived at the scene. Father, Mother, Cheer, are you guys hurt? Where is the demon? The middle-aged man leading the reinforcements asked them. Qi Man didn't say anything and merely lifted his hand to point at Yuan. The middle-aged man turned to look in the direction, but he couldn't see any demons, only a young man. I am going to him. Qi Fang suddenly said as she began running towards Yuan. Wait. Where do you think you're going? The middle-aged man shouted at her. The demon is already gone. That young man defeated it. Qi Huan said, which immediately sent shockwaves through their minds. What? Who even is that kid? I have never seen him before. The middle-aged man exclaimed. A friend sent by the Lord of the Dragon Spiral Mountain. Qi Man said before following Qi Fang. Let's go. Qi Huan said to the middle-aged man, who was still puzzled about the situation and had no choice but to follow them. A few moments later, everyone there gathered around Yuan and the puddle of blood. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 773, published at 26th of February 2022, 10:39 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 773. 773. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 773. As their lecturer Yuan, is the demon really dead? It won't regenerate from this puddle of blood? Qi Fang asked him once they got to him. I'm pretty sure that it's dead. Yuan replied in a slightly dazed voice. He didn't think he would be able to defeat such a powerful demon with seemingly no effort at all. Not only did his practice at the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library help him, but his memories as the Divine Paragon also greatly assisted him today. I still only have fragments of the Divine Paragon's memories. If I recover all of it, demons will no longer be a threat and will be no different than any other magical beast. Yuan smiled inwardly. Let's go back to the household now. You can tell us everything once you get yourself cleaned up. Qi Man said to Yuan. He nodded and followed them back to the household. Sometime later, after washing himself, Yuan met up with the Qi family in the meeting room, and there were two more people there this time. The middle-aged man that came with the backup and a beautiful woman who looked almost like Qi Fang. They were the current leaders of the Qi family and Qi Fang's parents. Once Yuan sat down, Qi Man immediately opened his mouth to speak. After witnessing your fight today, I doubt you'll need our help with the demons at the Dragon Spiral Mountain, but since this is what we agreed on, we will help you. Yuan then said, you guys can prolong the seals on demons, right? I would like you to prolong the seals on the 11 demons to give us more time to prepare. The demon I fought today was much stronger than the one in the Jaded Garden, but the demons within the Dragon Spiral Mountain are even stronger than this one. I understand. Qi Man nodded. The Qi family has already been prolonging the seals on the 11 demons since ancient times, so even if Yuan didn't ask them, they would have done it anyway. Since they cannot kill the demons, their only option was to prolong their seals. If there's nothing else, I would like to return back home now. Yuan said a moment later. Actually, there is one thing. Qi Man turned to look at the manager, who nodded her head silently. He then continued, Yuan, the Qi family has one last request for you. Would like you to stay here a little longer as a lecturer. What? Yuan raised his eyebrows. A lecturer. Qi Man repeated. Would like you to teach our demon sealers how to kill demons. As you probably already know by now, there are still more demons out there. Our Qi family has tracked dozens of sealed demons across the world, but the only thing we can do is prolong their seal until their inevitable release. We want to be able to kill them just like you did today. Wait, did you just say dozens of sealed demons? Yuan had a look of disbelief on his face at this moment. Yes, and there could be even more that we don't know about, such as the one sealed in the Jaded Garden. Chi-Man sighed. And you want me to teach the demon sealers in your family? I don't think I qualify. Yuan shook his head. If you who killed a demon don't qualify to teach, then nobody in our family qualifies. Please. You're our only hope. Yuan took a moment to ponder. After a few minutes of silence, Yuan asked him, how long? I have to return home in 3 weeks. Then 3, no. 2 weeks is more than enough. Chi-Man raised 3 fingers before making it 2. Yuan nodded. Okay, I will stay here for 2 more weeks to teach your Chi family, but after that, I really have to return home. Thank you, Yuan. Chi-Man said with an ecstatic expression on his face. Then we will start tomorrow morning. I want to rest for the rest of today. Of course. Chair, bring him to his room. Chi-Man said to her. What? Why do I have to do that? We have servants for that. Chi Fong frowned. However, when she saw her grandparents and even parents' cold glares, she swallowed nervously and stood up. Let's go, she said to Yuan without even looking at him. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Did something happen between them? Her mother asked the grandparents after they left. Not that I am aware of, but there's clearly something between them. Chi-Man shook his head. Meanwhile, Chi Fong brought Yuan to a small shed behind their main building, but it looked more like a place for tools than guests. This is my room? Yuan raised his eyebrows. If you've got a problem with it, you can sleep outside. She coldly responded. Are you still mad at me for sealing you? I just wanted you to have a taste of your own medicine, that's all. Not to mention that you sealed me first. For a minute? You left me there for an entire day. Do you have any idea how terrifying it feels to be sealed for so long? I really thought I was sealed for good. In my defense, if the Chu family didn't interrupt, I would have let you out sooner. Anyways, I helped your family defeat the demon, so let's call it even. Chi Fong gritted her teeth in anger, but she did not release it. After a moment of silence, she pointed at the large building not far away from the shed and said, This doesn't mean I forgive you for what you did to me. If I let you live in this shed, my family would kill me, that's all. She left Yuan alone immediately afterward. Once Yuan entered the room and locked it, he sat down on the floor and retrieved the demon core. After staring at it for a moment, he tossed it inside his mouth and swallowed it. Immediately, he could feel a sudden surge of chaotic spiritual energy rushing into his body. However, this demon core tasted and felt different than usual, and it was painful. Yuan suddenly released a loud roar that shook the building. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 774. Published at 27th of February 2022 9:05 AM. Chapter 774. 774. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 774. Chaotic energy. Shortly after consuming the demon core, Yuan began feeling pain all over his body, and his skin even began turning red, almost as though he was turning into a demon himself. When Chi Fong, who was still in range, heard Yuan screaming, she immediately turned around and ran to his building. Hey, what's going on? Why are you screaming like that? Open the door. Chi Fong banged on the door as she shouted, but Yuan was obviously too busy to answer the door, and he was in too much pain to even hear her voice. Answer me when I speak to you. Chi Fong did not have the patience and decided to kick the door down. Hey, what's wrong with you? What did you do? Chi Fong was shocked to see Yuan writhing in pain on the floor, and his body was burning red. Chi Fong went to pick him up, but she didn't know what to do from there, so she decided to put him back down and went to call for a doctor. Wait right here. I'm going to get a doctor. Don't you dare die on me. Chi Fong said to him before running for help. Meanwhile, Yuan was busy trying to suppress whatever was acting up inside his body. You silly thing, how could you swallow a demon core belonging to an elite demon in your current state? You're like a child that puts anything you find into your mouth. You're courting death. The divine paragon's voice resounded inside Yuan's head. Elite demon? What's the difference? Yuan cried inwardly. Just like how dragons have their own ranks that are based on the purity of their dragon blood, demons have their own ranks based on their demonic blood. All of the demons that you have been fighting before this one were just ordinary demons with ordinary demonic blood. This one, however, is an elite demon with pure demonic blood, and the purer the demonic blood, the stronger their chaotic energy. What happens if I consume something like that? If you were strong enough, nothing would happen, but you're not, so the chaotic energy is trying to destroy your body right now. Listen, if you don't quickly control the chaotic energy, your body will explode into a bloody mess. And how the hell am I supposed to do that? Yuan shouted out loud, feeling as though something was growing within his body. The divine paragon sighed. I will help you control the chaotic energy this time, but if this happens again you will have to deal with it yourself. After a moment of silence, Yuan suddenly stopped moving and returned to sitting in the lotus position. He took a deep breath and began controlling the chaotic energy inside his body. Very quickly Yuan could feel his body returning to normal, and his spiritual energy was under control again. However, he could still feel something chaotic inside his body. By the time Qi Fang returned with the doctor, Yuan had already controlled most of the chaotic energy, but it took him all of his energy to do so, causing him to pass out shortly after. The doctor checked Yuan's condition afterward. How is he? Qi Fang asked in a worried voice. Despite her cold attitude towards Yuan, she actually cared about his safety, as he was their only hope in defeating demons for good. He seems fine for now and his body is stable, but I will need to inspect his body further for a more accurate assessment. The doctor said. I understand. Qi Fang went to notify her family and the manager of the situation once she knew that Yuan was fine for the moment. When her family heard this, they immediately panicked for the same reason Qi Fang had. If Yuan dies, their world and everyone living in it will all die to the demons. What happened? Why did he suddenly collapse? Qi Man asked her. I have no idea. I sent him to his room and after leaving him alone for a moment, I suddenly heard him screaming. When I arrived he was on the ground and his skin was burning red. However, by the time I returned with the doctor he was already back to normal. Looks like we can only ask him after he wakes up. Qi Huan sighed. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Sometime later, the manager called Meishio to let her know of the situation. What? Yuan collapsed and is unconscious right now. What happened to him? I was hoping you could tell me. Does he have any medical conditions that cause him to do this? The manager asked. No, not that I am aware of. So he's never done this before? No. Can I go see him? I want to see his condition with my own eyes. I will have to ask the Qi family for permission first. Give me a minute. The manager then asked the old couple since they were still together. Yuan's friend? Of course. Any friend of Yuan is also our friend. Qi Man quickly agreed. Alright, I will come pick you up. I should be there by midnight. Be ready by then. The manager said to Meishio before hanging up. What a pain in the ass. The manager sighed inwardly. She didn't think she'd have to travel back and forth more than once, but alas. While the manager made her way back to the Dragon Spiral Mountain to pick up Meishio, the Qi family watched over Yuan, who would remain unconscious for the rest of the day. After returning to the Dragon Spiral Mountain, the manager reported the situation to the Lord before she went to pick up Meishio. So that's what happened, huh? If you ask me, I think he tried to cultivate the demon core, since his symptoms sound exactly like what happens when someone tries to absorb a demon core like it's a monster core. The Lord said. If someone tries to cultivate a demon core, what will happen to them? The manager asked out of curiosity. Well, to put things simply, they will die a horrible death. However, from what you told me, it appears that he's alive, so I doubt that's what happened. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 775. Published at 28th of February 2022 7:18 and 8 seconds p.m. Chapter 775. 775 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 775. Losing his mind. Anyways, as long as he didn't cultivate a demon core and he isn't dead, do whatever you can to keep him safe. Now that he's proven himself to be valuable, we cannot let him die. Use that treasure even if you have to. The Lord continued to speak. What? You want to waste that precious treasure on him? The manager was shocked. If it can keep him alive, yes. He's too precious for this world to die. But, no buts. You may return to the Qi family now. I understand. The manager sighed before going to Yuan's home to pick up Meishio. However, there was an additional person there. What's this? I only got permission for one person, not two. The manager said as she glared at Chu Liuxiang, who decided to follow along after hearing about the situation. I am not going to stay here while Yuan is suffering. I am going to follow you even if it's the last thing I do. Chu Liuxiang said stubbornly. And she continued, and my master is from the Qi family. They wouldn't refuse me. Whatever. Just get in the car. The manager said to them. Once they were all in the car, the manager began speeding down the mountain like she did with Yuan, but it wasn't as fast. However, unlike Yuan, neither Chu Liuxiang or Meishio said a word regarding her speed, and they would only ask her about Yuan's condition. Like I already said on the phone, I don't know what happened to him. If you want to know, you'll have to ask him after he wakes up. Once they arrived at the airport, the manager told the two of them to press the red button and watch the plane before going off to sleep, leaving them speechless. Meanwhile, Qi Fang was ordered by her family to stay with Yuan until he wakes up. What? Why do I have to babysit him all night? I am not his nanny. Why are you guys treating me like this? Did I do something wrong? That's a great question. Did you do something wrong? Qi Huan narrowed her eyes at Qi Fang. Qi Man then said, although we don't know what happened between the two of you, whether you are in the right or wrong, you need to put all of that behind you. Yuan is a valuable friend that we cannot afford to offend. If you offended him in any way, apologize to him when he wakes up. Qi Fang gritted her teeth, but she couldn't blame her grandparents for their decision, as she was mostly responsible for what happened on that day. I understand. Qi Fang sighed. Good, then we'll leave Yuan in your hands. They left her alone with Yuan afterward. Once her family left, Qi Fang went to one of the drawers and pulled out a tall bottle of alcohol and sat down at the table. How could they treat their most talented demon sealer like a babysitter? Damn it. Qi Fang began chugging down the alcohol and complained after every swallow. Why am I being punished when they don't even know what happened? It's almost like they wanted someone to blame for his current situation. I can't believe this. Damn it all. While Qi Fang was chugging down her alcohol, Yuan was somewhere deep within his consciousness. Although I have managed to control and convert most of the chaotic energy inside your body, there is still some left, and while it won't kill you, you should still remove them as soon as possible, as it could not only affect your cultivation but also your mind. The divine paragon appeared inside Yuan's head to warn him. How do I do that? Fortunately for you who has the heaven-refining physique, you can just cultivate normally and push out the remaining chaotic energy with fresh spiritual energy. If it was anybody else, they would need a new technique and a lot of treasures. The divine paragon smiled. How long do I have before it starts affecting me? Yuan then asked. This is your first time experiencing such a thing, so the backlash will be quick and fierce. You can expect a reaction as soon as you wake up. It's that bad. Yuan swallowed nervously. What will happen to me? Who knows? You'll probably lose your mind every once in a while, become quick to lose your tempers, and other nasty nature that demons have, almost like you turned into a demon yourself. Yuan was terrified when he heard such words. I am going to turn into a demon? Does this mean I will crave human meat or kill humans? I hope to God that doesn't happen. Although that's possible, it won't happen with the amount of chaotic energy inside your body. However, it would be a good idea to limit your contact with others for the time being. I will have to delay the lecturers until I fix this situation. Yuan sighed. While Yuan slept peacefully, Qi Fang approached him with a drunk look on her face, still with a bottle of alcohol in her hands. You stupid little brat, hick. This is all your fault. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Once she was standing right beside the bed, Qi Fang would stare at Yuan's sleeping face in silence. Now that I look at you closely. You're quite handsome. What you did today was also very handsome and admirable. When I watched you fight the demon, my heart was beating like crazy, almost like I was having a heart attack. I have never felt anything like that before. After a moment of silence, Qi Fang suddenly lowered her face towards Yuan's sleeping face, kissing him on the lips. She removed her lips a moment later and muttered in a low voice, How can you sleep so soundly with a beauty like me in the same room? Wake up and fight me. I'm going to avenge myself. Qi Fang began to slap Yuan's face lightly for a response. When Yuan didn't respond, Qi Fang turned around and began walking away. How boring. After walking 2 steps, Qi Fang suddenly stopped walking when she felt someone grab her hand. She turned around to see Yuan sitting up on his bed, and his eyes were open, but he didn't seem conscious. However, Qi Fang was too drunk to notice that and continued to probe him. So you want to fight? Yuan suddenly yanked Qi Fang onto the bed. Hey, what are you doing? That hurts. Qi Fang complained as she laid on the bed with Yuan. She also felt a little wet for some reason, so she looked down, and to her surprise, the bottle of alcohol in her hands had spilled all over her body. Look at what you've done. Now I have to clean myself. Qi Fang began loosening the wet areas on her clothes, and when Yuan saw that, almost as though something had ignited inside him, he suddenly pounced on top of her and ripped her loosened clothes right off her body. Qi Fang stared at Yuan's face with a dazed expression. You have very beautiful eyes. She muttered in a low voice, not sounding a bit concerned about being naked nor the situation they were in, even placing her hands on his cheeks and caressing them. When she noticed Yuan staring at her bare chest, Qi Fang smiled and said, "Go ahead, you can touch them. It's your reward for dealing with the demon." Despite his weird state, it was almost as though Yuan had been waiting for Qi Fang's approval, so when he got her approval, he immediately buried his face into her chest like a child embracing their mother. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 776. Published at 28th of February 2022 7:18 and 7 seconds p.m. Chapter 776. 776 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 776. A grave mistake, yes. That's right. You can touch them all you want. It's your reward for killing the demon. Qi Fang spoke in a dazed voice as Yuan's face buried deeper and deeper into her bosoms. This went on for a few moments until all of Yuan's movements suddenly halted. What's wrong? Yuan suddenly stood up and looked at Qi Fang with a tranquil expression on his face. You should probably leave before we both make a grave mistake, he said in a calm voice. What? Qi Fang's eyes widened with shock. This shock snapped her out of her drunken state for a brief moment, but this brief moment of clarity was all that was needed for Qi Fang to realize what was happening and made a decision. She quickly got out of the bed and put on her clothes before running out of his room with a flushed face. Once she was gone, Yuan sat on the bed and smiled. What a troublesome child. I hope this will teach you to not put everything in your mouth and that all actions will have consequences. He closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Meanwhile, inside his consciousness, Yuan sighed in relief. Thank you. He bowed to the divine paragon who'd just taken over his body. Why are you thanking me? For taking over my body and stopping me who cannot control myself right now. The divine paragon started laughing. He then said, I told you I cannot take over your body. I am merely a fragment of your memories. You acted on your own just now, just like when you fought and killed the demon. Perhaps your instincts kicked in or something. How is that even possible when I am not conscious? Yuan frowned. Reincarnation is a wonderful thing, but it is also something that we do not fully comprehend, and you're no ordinary human. After a moment of silence, Yuan spoke. Since you're here, can you tell me about the demonic realm? You kind of left me hanging last time. I don't have the answers to your questions. If you want them, go to the demonic realm. That's clearly bullshit. Why else would you say that something bad will happen if I don't return? Like ID already said, it's probably your instincts that's telling you. Anyways, it's about time I go. I won't be able to save you a second time, so if you end up in that state again, you're going to have to take full responsibility. I know. Yuan sighed. Do you really? A mysterious smile appeared on the divine paragon's face as he disappeared. The following morning, Qi Fang woke up in her bed to a head-splitting headache. Shit. I drank too much yesterday. She sat up with a painful expression on her face. Once her head cleared a little bit, memories of what happened last night began flowing inside her head. Shit, fuck? Did I really do such a thing? No way. Qi Fang quickly got dressed and rushed to Yuan's place. Hey, wake up, Yuan. We need to talk. Qi Fang banged on the door as she shouted in an urgent manner. Senior Qi, I am sorry, but can you leave me alone for a while? We can talk later. Once I fix myself. Last night. Nothing happened last night, do you hear me? I was not in the right state of mind. It was a mistake. What mistake? Qi Man's voice suddenly resounded behind Qi Fang, giving her the scare of her life. Grandfather. Nothing. Qi Fang turned around with a nervous look on her face, but when she saw Chu Liuxiang behind him, she became even more nervous. Liuxiang? What are you doing here? She stuttered nervously. I am here to see Yuan, of course, she said in a calm voice. Speaking of Yuan, why are you standing out here? I thought we told you to watch over him. How can you do that when you're out here and he's in there? Chi Huan said to her. I left for just a minute, okay? I made sure to watch him properly. I swear. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Whatever. The grandparents were suspicious of her weird behavior, but they didn't think too much of it. Meishio went to the door and knocked on it. Yuan? Are you awake? I'm Meishio. Is that you, Meishio? What are you doing here? Yuan's panicked voice resounded inside the building. I'm also here as well. Chu Liuxiang said loudly. Alulu as well? Can you open the door and let us in? We want to see if you're okay. Meishio continued. After a moment of silence, Yuan sighed. Sorry, but I am a little sick right now. Can you all leave me alone for a few days? You're sick? How so? Meishio turned to look at Chi Man and the others and said to them, Can you leave us alone for a moment? All right. If you need anything, let us know. Thank you. Meishio nodded. Once they left, Meishio continued, Yuan, it's just me and Chu Liuxiang now. You can tell us what happened. Yuan sighed again before speaking. I consumed a demon core, but this demon core was a little special, so I am now experiencing a little backlash. My mind is not in the right state right now, and I am afraid of hurting you and the others, so until I take care of this condition, I should not get close to anyone. I see. So that's what happened. Are you in pain right now? Meishio then asked. No, I am fine. I should be healthy again in a few days. I understand. If you need anything, we will be right out here. Thank you, Meishio and Lulu, for coming all the way out here. Anything for you, Yuan? Chu Liuxiang smiled. Anyways, what should we tell the others? I don't think we should let them know that he consumed a demon core. Yes, you're right. Let's think of something. Meishio agreed with Chu Liuxiang, and the two of them began thinking of an excuse for Yuan's condition. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 777. Published at 28th of February 2022 9:57 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 777. 777 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 777, Destructive Urges. Why don't we just tell them that it's a medical condition he has? Chu Liuxiang asked. No, that won't work. I already told the manager that there was no such thing. Oh, I know. We can tell them that it was caused by one of the techniques he's currently cultivating. Meishio stared at her in silence for a few moments before nodding. That will work. Okay, let's tell them that then. Sometime later, the Chi family returned. How is he doing? Chi Man asked. He's doing fine. It's just the backlash of one of his techniques that he's currently trying to master, that's all. His episode should be cleared in a few days. It was caused by a technique? I have never heard of a technique that has made people sick before. Chi Huan said in a worried tone. But as long as he's fine, I am relieved. If you need anything, just let us know. We've also prepared a room for you too. Chi Man said to them. It's alright, we will stay here with him. Chu Liuxiang said. Out here? In the cold? You know we cannot have our guests live in such conditions. They raised their eyebrows. Why don't the two of you take turns watching over him? The two of them exchanged looks with each other before nodding their heads. I can watch over him first. Chu Liuxiang said. We switch out every 8 hours? Meishio asked. Okay. Meishio then turned to look at Chi Man and asked him, while she stays here, I would like to join your Chi family's training sessions. You guys are taught to fight demons, right? I would like to learn. A bittersweet smile appeared on Chi Man's face as he spoke. If you want to learn, you already have the very best. I don't think we will be very helpful to you. In fact, I am now doubting if our training is even useful at all. Even then, I would still like to learn, at least until he recovers. Meishio said. All right. Training should be starting soon. Follow me. Meishio left the Chi Man and the others while Chu Liuxiang stayed behind. I will be right outside if you need me, Yuan. She sat down in front of the door and began cultivating. Meanwhile, Meishio followed Chi Man to this area with a large building and a massive field in the front. There's a lot of people here. She mumbled when she saw hundreds of people gathered outside the training field. My Chi family has almost 2,000 people. Of course, they are not all family by blood. We take disciples from around the world and teach them how to seal demons. As for our fighting experience, we really have none. Have you ever fought a demon before? Chi Man turned to ask Meishio. No, I have not. She shook her head. I have seen dozens of demons throughout my life, but they were all already sealed, so I have never seen their prowess, at least until yesterday. When I first saw the demon unsealed for the first time, my entire body froze from shock, and my instinct was to run away as quickly as possible. Even though I didn't personally face the demon, even though Yuan completely dominated the demon and made it look weak, I can tell that I am no match for the demon. And if someone like me is scared of demons, I cannot imagine how these young demon sealers will react before an unsealed demon, at least not with their current training. That's why I asked Yuan to be our lecturer. I'm certain that we can all learn something from him. Sometime later, Chi Man brought Meishio to the field. When the instructors and the disciples saw Chi Man, they all stopped whatever they were doing and bowed to him. Greetings, Ancestor. Listen up. Chi Man spoke out loud. Due to some complications, our new instructor will not be here for a few more days. Therefore you will train normally for now. My friend here will be joining your training today. Treat her well. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Everybody there turned to look at Meishio. Many nervous gulps resounded from people that were taken aback by her beauty, and there were so many that it sounded really weird. Meanwhile, inside his room, Yuan was trying to suppress his urges to destroy everything in the room. If he so much as looks at anything, his destructive urges would flare up, so he locked his divine sense. Is this what causes demons' destructive nature? I only have some chaotic energy left in my body, yet the urges are still this strong. I cannot imagine what it must be like to be a demon that has to endure this for their entire life. If he had to endure this urge for the rest of his life, there was no doubt that he would eventually stop suppressing his urges and go wild. When he realized this, Yuan stopped blaming demons as much, and he even pitied their tragic life. However, there was another feeling in Yuan that was very worrisome for him, and that was the feeling from last night that hasn't been satisfied. Damn it, I am already trying my best to deal with my destructive urges. If I also have to control my sexual urges, I won't be able to cultivate at all. He cried inwardly. After pondering for a moment, Yuan cleared his throat and spoke out loud. Oh, is Meishio out there? No, she went to train with the Chi family. Do you need help? Kind of. When will she come back? Well, it's been 2 hours since she left, so she won't return for another 6 hours. 6 hours? Yuan's sighing voice could be heard from inside the building. If you need help, I can help you. It's a little complicated. It's okay, I can just wait. After a moment of silence, Chu Luxiang's voice resounded. Yuan? No matter how complicated it is, I want to help you. You have helped me so many times now, yet I have not been able to return the favor. Please let me help you. The place turned dead silent after that. Chu Liuxiang sighed in a dispirited manner, but just as she was able to give up, she heard the door behind her being unlocked. Come inside. Yuan said to her. Coming. Chu Liuxiang eagerly entered the building. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 778. Published at 28th of February 2022 11:09 and 5 seconds p.m. Chapter 778. 778 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 778. Starved Beast Yuan? What are you doing standing so far away? Chu Liuxiang asked him after entering the building and noticing that he was standing all the way on the other side of the room. I wanted to make sure that I don't accidentally hurt you. Yuan sighed. Ever since I consumed the demon core, I have been getting these unhealthy thoughts and the urge to destroy everything around me, and I am having a hard time controlling these emotions. I am worried that I might hurt you if you get too close. Hearing Yuan's words, Chu Liuxiang smiled. She closed the door behind her and started approaching him in a calm manner. As long as I can help you, I don't care even if you hurt me. Once she was close enough, she opened her arms and embraced Yuan. See, everything is fine. Now tell me what you need help with. However, before Yuan could even respond, Chu Liuxiang felt something hard poking her legs. She looked down and to her absolute shock, there was a massive bulge in his pants. Chu Luxiang's mind blanked out for a moment while she processed the situation. In order for me to release the chaotic energy in my body, I must cultivate, but I cannot cultivate properly when I have to control so many emotions and urges. Yuan sighed. Chu Liuxiang snapped out of her daze and looked at his handsome face. When you say you need help, do you mean, down there? She asked him in a nervous voice. I tried doing it myself before, but that didn't work. If you don't want to help, I fully understand and won't blame you for not wanting to do something so weird. After a moment of silence, Chu Liuxiang asked in a low voice, Does Meishio usually help you? You did ask for her just now. That's. Yuan promised Meishio that he would not tell anybody, but even an idiot could tell the truth after seeing his reaction. A bittersweet smile appeared on Chu Liuxiang's face and she said, Believe it or not, I am not that surprised. It's a common thing amongst wealthy households such as the Yu family. Meishio, she was probably trained to do such things. She took a deep breath and continued, Since Meishio is not here, I will help you out. Take off your pants and sit on the bed. Yuan nodded, and while he took off his pants, Chu Liuxiang went to lock the doors. When she turned around and saw Yuan sitting on the bed with his lower half completely naked, her entire body froze. Even though this wasn't her first time seeing his lower half, and they have even taken baths together, the atmosphere was completely different, and Yuan's body didn't have this sort of reaction. Why are you getting nervous now, you idiot? You have been wanting to do this kind of stuff to him for a long time. Chu Liuxiang cried inwardly to calm herself. Sure enough, it worked perfectly, allowing her to move her body again. She walked in front of Yuan and kneeled before him. Once she prepared herself, she extended her fair hands and grabbed the stiff rod between Yuan's legs and began stroking it. Ah, it hurts. Yuan suddenly exclaimed, sucking in a breath of cold air. Sorry? Chu Liuxiang was surprised by his painful sound and immediately removed her hands. Am I doing something wrong? But I am doing exactly what the magazines instruct. She wondered inwardly. She looked at him and asked, How does Meishio usually do this? I don't know how to explain it. The room turned dead silent as Chu Liuxiang began pondering. Okay, I know what to do. She started moving closer to Yuan, and once she was close enough, she opened her mouth and sucked on his thing. Yuan suddenly felt an incredible feeling around his thing, but since he didn't dare to use his divine sense, he could only imagine what Chu Liuxiang was doing to him. How is this? Does this hurt? Chu Liuxiang asked him a moment later. No. Feels good. Chu Liuxiang didn't say anything longer and continued to relieve him of his stress. A few minutes later, Yuan said, I cannot hold it any longer. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Chu Liuxiang suddenly felt something warm gush inside her mouth. She subconsciously removed her mouth, and Yuan's white stuff shot all over her clothes and face. Wow. Chu Liuxiang mumbled in an amazed voice afterward. Let me go wash myself first. Is there a bathroom in here? Chu Liuxiang stood up and looked around for a bathroom. However, Yuan didn't respond. Yuan? She turned to look at him, who was sitting on the bed with a dazed face. Yuan? Are you okay? She approached him. Yuan suddenly grabbed her, tossed her onto the bed and pinned her down. Although his action surprised her, she wasn't too worried since she knew that he wouldn't harm her. Yuan? What's happening? She asked him. Yuan opened his mouth slightly and uttered in a low voice while gnashing his teeth, almost as though he was trying to resist something. Cannot resist anymore. Chu Liuxiang stared at Yuan's painful face with a blank expression. Yuan suddenly shouted, Leave. Leave this place immediately before I hurt you. However, Chu Liuxiang didn't move, and she even caressed his cheeks with her hand. Yuan, how can I leave you alone when you're suffering? When I absorbed the flood dragon scale, you stayed with me, even suffering with me. Therefore I am going to do the same. Let me help you. Let me suffer with you. Yuan's body trembled when he heard her words. It's okay. I will be fine. I promise. Let it out. Let it all out. I'm sorry. Yuan muttered in a low voice right before he stripped Chu Liuxiang naked. And for the next few minutes, like a starved beast that hasn't eaten in days, he tasted every inch of Chu Liuxiang's luscious body, leaving his saliva all over her body. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 779. Published at 2nd of March 2022 11:39 and 7 seconds p.m. Chapter 779. 779 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 779. Bruises, mm. Chu Liuxiang moaned softly as Yuan licked and kissed her body from the top to bottom. When Yuan reached the area between her legs, He grabbed her legs and opened it wide before pushing his face towards her bottom lips. MMM. Chu Luxiang's eyes widened with shock and her body twitched. She wanted to moan louder, but she didn't dare to do so, fearing that someone might overhear them. She suddenly felt something small invading her cave and wriggling around like a worm. So fierce. She cried inwardly. Once Yuan was satisfied, he removed his wet mouth from Chu Luxiang's body and aimed his sword at the slit between her legs. Wait a second, Yuan. Give me a moment to However, before Chu Liuxiang could even finish her sentence, Yuan suddenly moved, shoving his rod into her body completely. MMMH. Chu Liuxiang nearly screamed from the pain, and it felt like her lower body had been ripped apart and torn in half. The pain was so excruciating that it immediately made her eyes tear up and almost knocked her unconscious. However, before she could even recover from her pain or adapt to it, Yuan started moving again, pounding his hips violently at her like a dog during mating season. It hurts. It really hurts. Tears flowed from Chu Luxiang's eyes like a river, yet she remained still and allowed Yuan to ravage her body as he wished. The pain was on par with the pain she felt when she absorbed the Flood Dragon's scale, but unlike then, this pain felt more realistic and a completely different kind of pain, not to mention how tightly Yuan was holding onto her arms and legs. A large amount of blood flowed from Chu Luxiang's body and tainted the clean bed sheets, but Yuan ignored all of that and continued to thrust his hips like a machine with only one purpose. Chu Liuxiang could have never expected that her first time with Yuan would be so brutal and so rough. She thought it was going to be a great time, one that could be enjoyed by the two of them, but it was more of a torture than anything. Many minutes into their action, Yuan suddenly extended his arm and wrapped his hands around Chu Luxiang's neck and tightened it, choking her neck. Despite this, Chu Liuxiang accepted everything Yuan threw at her. She endured the pain, she resisted the thought of running away, and she tried her best to not blame Yuan for his actions. Yuan? Chu Liuxiang muttered in a low voice as Yuan continued to seal away her air. Yuan's body jolted the moment he heard Chu Liuxiang calling his name, and he slowly released his grasp on her neck, which left behind a slight bruise. Hello? What have I done? Yuan, who had just regained control over his body, mumbled in disbelief. He looked at her condition with his divine sense, and he could see bruise marks all over her body that had been caused by his rough handling, and the bed sheets were soaked in her blood. However, despite the abuse she just experienced, Chu Liuxiang had a gentle smile on her face. Don't blame yourself, Yuan. You're not in the right state of mind and I agreed to this. That doesn't make the situation any better, nor does it excuse my actions. I hurt you, even though I promised to protect you. We need to stop here and get you a doctor. When Yuan tried to stand up, Chu Liuxiang suddenly grabbed his arm and pulled him back down. No. We cannot stop here. We need to finish this properly. I have always wanted to do this with you too. But your condition? Don't underestimate me, Yuan. I got worse injuries when I trained with my master, and it was much more painful when I absorbed the Flood Dragon scale. I can handle this, she said with a resolute face. And she continued, furthermore, you're back to normal now. Things will only get better from here. What if I lose my mind again? Then I will wake you up again. Chu Liuxiang grabbed his cheeks and pulled his face towards her own, kissing him on the lips. I love you, Yuan, she said to him afterward. Let's finish this so that you can get better. Yuan nodded, and he inserted his rod into her body again. Now that Yuan regained his senses, he no longer moved like a beast, allowing the both of them to enjoy the moment. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Eventually Yuan reached his limits, and when that happened he remembered Mixius' words and pulled out of Chu Liuxiang before releasing his fluids all over her body. Yuan proceeded to lay on the bed beside Chu Liuxiang, and the both of them rested for many minutes before they went to wash each other. Yuan, that was amazing. I never expected that embracing your loved ones could be so much fun and enjoyable, even if you were a little rough at the beginning. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said. Sorry? Why are you apologizing? Some people like it rough, you know? It's like a hobby for them, and after experiencing it for myself, I can understand where they are coming from. Yuan didn't know how to respond to such information, so he remained quiet. I am going to cultivate now and get rid of the chaotic energy within my body. Yuan said to Chu Liuxiang afterward. Good luck. If you ever need to relieve yourself again, I will always be there for you. Thank you. Yuan nodded. Chu Liuxiang left Yuan alone and proceeded to stare at the cloud in the sky with a dazed face until Meishio returned. Is everything okay? Meishio asked Chu Liuxiang when she noticed the odd atmosphere around her, like something about her had changed. Never been better. Chu Liuxiang nodded with a smile. It's my turn to watch Yuan now. Okay. Just as Chu Liuxiang began walking away, Meishu suddenly spoke. Wait. What's the matter? Chu Liuxiang stopped and looked at her. Meishu raised her arm and pointed at her neck. You're bruised? Something did happen, right? Are you okay? Chu Liuxiang subconsciously covered her neck. She had completely forgotten about it. Don't worry, it's really nothing serious. Yuan, is he okay? Yes, I promise. Chu Liuxiang smiled at Meishu before leaving the scene. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 780? Published at 3rd of March 2022 2:09 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 780. 780. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 780. Full recovery. After Chu Liuxiang left, Meishu turned to look at Yuan's building with a worried look on her face. Yuan, are you there? Yes. Are you okay? After a moment of silence, Yuan responded, I lost control for a bit, but Lulu helped me so I am fine now. Lost control? That explains the bruises on her neck. They probably fought. Meishu sighed inwardly, misunderstanding the situation entirely. Yuan, if you feel like losing control again, let me know and I will immediately get help. Meishu said to him. As much as she wanted to help him, she knew that she was no match for Yuan if they fought, so she could only rely on others for now. I'm still too weak compared to them. Meishu bit her lips in frustration before sitting down and cultivating. 8 hours passed in a flash while Meishu focused on cultivation, and before she was aware, Chu Liuxiang was already back for her shift. I can continue. You should rest a little more. Meishu said to her. Thank you for worrying about me, but I am really fine. Look, the bruises are already gone. Chu Liuxiang showed Meishu her neck and sure enough, all of her bruises were gone. Meishu silently stared at her for a moment before speaking. If anything happens, you need to get help. I will. Chu Liuxiang nodded with a smile on her face. Once Meishu left, Chu Liuxiang sat before the building and said, I am back, Yuan. If you need me, I will be out here. There was no response from Yuan, but Chu Liuxiang didn't panic. He's probably focused on his recovery, she thought to herself. An hour into her shift, Chu Liuxiang noticed a figure in the distance, and they appeared to be watching her from the shadows. It was already dark outside, so Chu Liuxiang couldn't see this figure's face. Who's there? She called out to the figure. A few seconds later, this figure stepped out of the shadows and into the light. It was Qi Feng. Master, do you need something? How is he doing? Yuan? He's recovering. Is that so? Qi Feng didn't say anything else and turned around and began walking away. Master. Wait a moment. Chu Liuxiang stopped her. What? Are you still angry at Yuan for what happened last time? If you are, please accept my apologies for him. Qi Feng spoke after a moment of silence. I am more angry at myself than I am with him. Chu Liuxiang's eyes widened. I thought I was strong. Strong enough to defeat him, strong enough to defeat a demon. Turns out that I've been wrong this entire time. You don't have to worry. What happened at the Chu family is already behind me. I may be stupid and arrogant, but I am not foolish. And without explaining any further, Qi Feng disappeared back into the shadows, leaving Chu Liuxiang speechless. 2 days later, Yuan opened his eyes and stood up to stretch. The urges are completely gone now, which means I have fully recovered. What a horrible experience. I swear I will never carelessly swallow demon cores ever again. He opened the door and walked outside to see Chu Liuxiang sitting in front of him. And when Chu Liuxiang heard the door open behind her, she stopped cultivating and turned around. Yuan, have you finally recovered? She quickly stood up and asked him. Yes, and it's all thanks to you. Yuan suddenly opened his arms and embraced Chu Liuxiang tightly. Lulu, I'm truly sorry about what happened last time. I asked you for your help, but that caused you a lot of pain. Even if I wasn't in the right state of mind, I am still responsible for my actions. I hope that you'll forgive me. I will forgive you, if you do it properly next time. Chu Liuxiang hugged him back and said, Let's wait until we go back home? Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I think I prefer that as well. Chu Liuxiang chuckled. Let's go tell the others that you're fine. She then said. Okay. Yuan and Chu Liuxiang went to meet up with Meishio. Meishio, are you awake? Yuan. Meishio stopped cultivating when she heard Yuan's voice outside her room. Are you okay? She asked him after opening the door. Yes, I have fully recovered. Thank you for watching over me. Where is the Qi family? I'd like to speak with them. Senior Qi should be at the training area with the disciples. We can ask her. Meishio said. Where is this place? Follow me. I have been there before. They made their way to the training area next, and sure enough, Qi Fang was training the disciple with an iron fist. Your demon sealing aura is too weak. Are you trying to seal the demon or unseal it? Senior Qi, I think they are looking for you. One of the disciples noticed Yuan's group and notified her. When Qi Fang saw Yuan's face, she immediately recalled the incident they had not long ago and started blushing. Sometime later, she approached them and asked, Need something? Yuan smiled and said, I have fully recovered and I am prepared to train the Qi family. Qi Fang narrowed her eyes at him. Are you sure? I am. He nodded. Wait right here. I'm going to notify my grandparents. Qi Fang then walked away for a few minutes before returning. They will be here shortly. While we wait, I need to speak with you. In private. Qi Fang looked at Yuan. Qi Fang then dragged Yuan to a secluded area where they were alone. Once Qi Fang was certain that nobody was around, she pointed at Yuan and spoke in a low but aggressive voice. What happened that night never happened, okay? I was drunk and you were sick. Forget about it. If you dare tell anyone about it, I will kill you even if it's the last thing I do, and then I will kill myself. Do you hear me? Yuan smiled and said, What happened that night? I don't remember very clearly since I was sick. That's a good response. Now keep it that way forever. Qi Fang coldly snorted before walking away like nothing ever happened. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 781. Published at 5th of March 2022, 7:39 and 19 seconds p.m. Chapter 781. 781. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 781. Lecturing the Qi family. By the time Yuan returns to the others after his brief conversation with Qi Fang, Qi Man and the others have already arrived. Yuan, are you sure you want to start the training already? You can rest a few more days if you want. Qi Man said to him. I am certain. Yuan nodded with a confident smile. Okay. Follow me, I will introduce you to the family. Qi Man said. Qi Man brought Yuan before the disciples. He cleared his throat and spoke. Listen up. This person right here is Senior Yuan, and he will be your instructor for the next few days. The disciples immediately began mumbling to each other. He's our instructor? He looks even younger than me. I don't believe it. This must be a prank. Shut up. Qi Man suddenly shouted, instantly silencing the murmurs. He may be younger than most of you, but I can guarantee his skills and knowledge. As you already know, the demon on this island had escaped from its seal a few days ago. It was Senior Yuan who subjugated and killed the demon, saving us from a slaughter. If you dare disrespect him, you will answer to me. In fact, all of the elders in the family will also participate in the lectures, as I firmly believe that we all have a lot to learn from him. The disciples were shocked to learn that Yuan was the one who killed the demon, and they all wondered where he came from. However, a few disciples there recognized his name. Wait, Yuan? He can't be Player Yuan, right? The mysterious player who seems to always be 1,000 light years ahead of everyone? Fuck. Now that you mention it, it would make perfect sense if it's Player Yuan. He always seems to achieve the impossible. So that's what Player Yuan looks like behind his mask, huh? Why does he have his eyes closed? Who knows? Yuan suddenly stepped forward and said, Hello everyone. I'm Yuan and I will be teaching you all I know about demons. Before I teach you about how to fight demons, you should all know about demon strengths and weaknesses. He looked around before turning to look at Qi Man and asking him, Is there a more suitable place for lectures? Of course. We have a lecture hall not far from here. We can go there. Great. Yuan and everyone there proceeded to follow Qi Man to the lecture hall. Once everyone was seated, Yuan began speaking. Before I talk about demons' weakness, I want to talk about what makes them so strong and unkillable. First of all, demons have an incredible level of pain endurance. You can tear their limbs and smash their heads into meat paste, but they will not feel a thing. Second, they all have powerful innate strength. If you try to fight them head-on, you will most likely lose. Demons are naturally stronger than humans, meaning if there is a demon and a cultivator with the same cultivation, the demon will always beat the human. Last but not least, demons have super regeneration, which allows them to recover from any damage as long as there is a tiny piece of their body left. You can decapitate them or grind them into a million pieces, they will still recover as though nothing had happened. This is demons' strongest ability and what makes them relentless and unkillable. The disciples immediately began mumbling to each other. I thought their regenerating abilities were exaggerated. To think it was true. The disciples despaired upon learning this information. They learned about demons' regenerative abilities through ancient texts from their ancestors, but since they have never fought a demon before, they could never confirm the information. If we cannot kill them, then how did you kill the demon? Someone there stood up and asked Yuan. Yuan turned to look at the young man who just spoke and said, they may be unkillable, but that is only for your average cultivator. We, demon sealers, have what it takes to kill demons as long as you know the right techniques. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Now let me tell you about their weaknesses and how you can kill demons. There are 2 ways that I know of. 1. You must destroy the demon faster than it can regenerate, meaning you can kill a demon as long as you can erase a demon completely before they can regenerate, but that will require a massive amount of spiritual energy and a technique that is powerful enough to do such a thing. As for the second method, you must destroy their core. All demons have a core in their body, it's the red crystal that can usually be found on their chest. If you can destroy their core, the demon will lose their regenerative ability and die, which is what I did to the demon. However, in order to do that, you must have the right technique and demon sealing aura strong enough to prevent the crystal from returning to the demon. I will now answer any questions that you may have. Dozens of hands immediately raised into the air. How many demons have you fought, killed? A young lady asked him with her eyes flickering with admiration. A couple. Are you really player Yuan? The #1 player in cultivation online. Yes, I am. Do you have a girlfriend? Let's try to stay on topic. Yuan said with a bittersweet smile on his face. Qi Fang suddenly stood up and asked, the 2 methods to kill a demon, they all require a specific technique, but we don't have such techniques. Are you telling us that we will never be able to kill demons? Yuan smiled upon hearing her question and he responded in a clear voice, that's not true. You may not have such techniques, but I do. If you want, I can teach you these techniques. What? Are you serious? Qi Fang's eyes widened with shock. Qi Man and the other elders were also pleasantly surprised to hear Yuan's words. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 782. Published at 5th of March 2022 7:39 and 18 seconds p.m. Chapter 782. 782 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 782. Lecturing the Qi family. 2. Why you're willing to share with us your demon sealing techniques? What do you want in return? I doubt you'll be willing to give them for free. Qi Fang narrowed her eyes at Yuan. The situation sounded too good to be true. I don't need or want anything from you. I believe that the more capable demon sealers there are in this world, the safer it is from demons. It makes no sense for me to keep demon sealing techniques to myself when the world is in danger, as that would be akin to asking you to dig a hole with your bare hands while I keep all of the tools necessary to dig the hole to myself. However, these techniques require a certain amount of demon sealing aura to use. If your demon sealing aura is too weak, you will not be able to learn it. Qi Man suddenly stood up and spoke in a loud and excited voice. As you all have just heard, Senior Yuan has agreed to teach us his valuable demon sealing techniques. However, if you want to learn them, you must qualify first. If you wish to learn from him, you must speak to an elder first so that you don't waste Senior Yuan's time. Thank you, Senior Yuan. The disciples all expressed their gratitude to him. Yuan nodded, and he continued to lecture the Qi family about demons for an hour before they all returned to the training area. Now that you all know about demons, you should learn to fight them. Starting today, I will be acting as a demon, and your goal is to seal me. Seal you? How do we do that? One of the disciples asked. Just treat me like a demon and try your best to seal me. Are you sure? That sounds a little dangerous. Yuan smiled and said, Yes, it's going to be a little risky but not for me. He pointed at them and said, if anyone here can defeat me, I will teach you a demon sealing technique of your choosing. I happen to know a couple of divine rank demon sealing techniques after all. When the disciples heard Yuan's words, they immediately felt a rush of excitement and passion in their body. Who wants to try first? Yuan asked them a moment later. And before anybody could even move, a figure landed before him. I will go first, Qi Fang said with a serious look on her face. She had multiple reasons to fight Yuan, but she never had the right excuse until now. Sure. Yuan nodded with a smile. Qi Fang retrieved a sword. Where's your sword? Take it out. It won't be fair if I use it, Yuan said. How arrogant. Qi Fang didn't say anything else and kicked her feet. However, a burst of intense killing intent suddenly exploded from Yuan, halting Qi Fang instantly. Demons will have much more killing intent than I am releasing now. You must overcome your fear or you will never defeat the demon, Yuan said to her in a loud voice so that everyone else could hear him. Qi Fang's body trembled in fear, but she gritted her teeth and forced her own body to move. Ha! She swung her sword at Yuan with all of her might, but Yuan dodged it effortlessly. I can tell that you're still scared. Get rid of your fear if you want to win. Shut up. That's easier said than done. Qi Fang continued to swing her sword at Yuan, but with her body still trembling she could barely control her movements. If I was a real demon you'd been dead a dozen times by now. Yuan suddenly appeared behind Qi Fang, kicking her on the side and sending her flying. He turned to look at the dazed spectators and shouted, if you do not overcome your fear, you will never defeat the demon. There is nothing to fear as long as you have your demon sealing technique. Demons should fear you, not the other way. Who wants to try next? After a moment of silence, over a dozen disciples raised their hands. Seeing this, Yuan pointed at 5 different people and said, you can all come at me together. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The 5 disciples exchanged looks with each other before nodding their heads. Once they were prepared, they surrounded Yuan and attacked him at once. However, Yuan released his killing intent again. The disciples suddenly felt as though the Grim Reaper had appeared to take their lives, and their legs began shivering non-stop. While the disciples were dazed, Yuan used this chance to attack them, quickly defeating all 5 disciples. Give me 10 disciples next. Yuan turned to look at the spectators. And for the rest of the day Yuan would fight every disciple in the Qi family without a single loss, even increasing the number of people he fought at once after every victory. Fuck. He's too powerful. So this is what it feels like to fight player Yuan, huh? As expected, he's on a whole other level. Sometime later Yuan gathered everybody and said to them, although nobody has managed to resist my killing intent today, I have confidence in you all. Therefore we will spend all day tomorrow increasing your endurance to my killing intent. Once the disciples were dismissed, Qi Man and the other elders approached Yuan. Yuan, do you think we have enough demon sealing aura to learn the techniques? Qi Huan asked him. I don't know. Do you guys have anything that measures one's demon sealing aura? He asked them. Qi Man then said, we do. It's also what we use to determine if someone has the capabilities to become a demon sealer. Follow us. They brought Yuan to an open area where a stone tablet surrounded by 7 stone totems existed. If we pour our demon sealing aura in the stone tablet, it will tell us the strength of our aura, but we're not exactly sure how it scales. Qi Man said to him. Well, find out in a bit, I guess. Yuan said. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 783, published at 6th of March 2022 3:48 and 10 seconds p.m. Chapter 783. 783 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 783, testing their demon sealing aura. I will go first, Qi Man said as he approached the stone tablet. He placed his hands onto the tablet and poured his demon sealing aura into it. One of the 7 stone totems began emitting a dim light, then 2 totems, then 3, stopping at 4 totems. 4 totems. I think it should be good enough. I will transfer the technique to you. See if you can comprehend it, Yuan said to him afterward. How will you? Qi Man raised his eyebrows. Yuan approached Qi Man and lifted his hand before poking Qi Man's forehead with his finger that had a subtle light emitting from the tip. The next moment, Chi-Man could feel something being forced into his head, and the demon sealing technique appeared inside his mind like some sort of magic trick. Heavens! You can even do something like this? Chi-Man was shocked and speechless. I only learned this technique very recently, but it allows me to transfer any technique I know to others. It's very convenient. Chi-Man wasted no time and took a seat not far away before he started trying to comprehend the demon sealing technique. Who's next? I will go next. Chi-Huan stepped forward and placed her hands onto the stone tablet. A few moments later, 3 stone totems emitted light. Yuan transferred the demon sealing technique that will allow them to destroy a demon's core to Chi-Huan afterward. Up next was Chi-Fang's father, followed by her mother. Her father managed to light up 4 totems while her mother only managed to light up 3 totems, just like Chi-Man and Chi-Huan. The other elders went next, but most of them only managed to light up 2 totems with a few lighting 3. Once all of the elders were finished, Chi-Fang went to check her results, but she already knew the results before even putting her hands on the stone tablet since it was mandatory to check their demon sealing aura once a year, and she had checked her demon sealing aura 2 months ago. 1 totem, 2 totems, 3 totems. In the end, Chi-Fang managed to light up 5 totems, which is the highest out of the entire Chi family. As expected of our family's number 1 genius. The other elders were not surprised by the results. After getting her demon sealing aura tested, Chi-Fang approached Yuan and waited for him to transfer the techniques to her. Senior Chi, what weapon do you mainly use? The sword? Yes. Chi-Fang nodded, silently wondering to herself why he was asking this question. Then I will give you a demon sealing technique for the sword as well as the technique that will allow you to destroy their cores. Really? Chi-Fang's eyes began flickering with excitement. Why would I lie to you? Yuan smiled as he transferred the demon sealing strike and the other technique that he gave everyone else to Chi-Fang. What a profound technique. Chi-Fang mumbled in awe as she closed her eyes to look at the information flowing inside her head. What about you two? Do you want to test your demon sealing aura? Yuan asked Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Sure. They nodded. Chu Liuxiang went first, followed by Meishio. However, to their surprise, they were only able to light up a single totem. Does this mean we're not suitable to become demon sealers? Chu Liuxiang asked him in a worried tone. No, your results are normal for people that have never trained their demon sealing aura before. Chi-Man said to them. As long as you continue strengthening your demon sealing aura, you will be able to light up more totems. In fact, most of us started out with only 1 totem as well. Chu Liuxiang and Meishio felt more reassured after hearing Chi-Man's explanation. How does one even train their demon sealing aura? Chu Liuxiang then asked. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. We're not entirely sure either, but we found that the more we comprehend demon sealing techniques, the stronger our demon sealing aura becomes. Chi-Man responded. Does this mean one should study as many demon sealing techniques as they can even if they cannot use some of them? Yes. Chi-Man nodded. Anyways, this technique is very profound. It will take us a few weeks if not months before we get any results. However, I think we can teach everyone that has at least level 2 demon sealing aura the technique, but it's all up to you, Yuan. Chi-Man looked at him. Level 2 demon sealing aura? So only those who can emit light from 2 totems should learn the technique? Yuan asked for confirmation. Yes. Chi-Man nodded. Sure, I don't mind. Thank you. This debt we owe you is so huge that I don't even know where to begin, much less how to repay you. Please give us some time to think of a proper response. Chi-Man lowered his head and said. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. I don't really need any payments, but I would appreciate it if you can let me look at the Chi family's demon sealing techniques. Of course. We don't have much, and they are worthless compared to your demon sealing techniques, but since you asked, you may look at them as you please. Just let me know when you want to look at them. I will look at them before I return home. Yuan said. Sometime later, Chi-Fang stopped trying to learn the technique and said to Yuan, Hey, why don't you take the test as well? I want to see how strong your demon sealing aura is. When the others heard Chi-Fang's suggestion, they also stopped cultivating and stared at Yuan. It was clear as day that Chi-Fang isn't the only one curious. Sure. Yuan simply couldn't refuse after seeing their anticipating gazes. He approached the stone tablet and placed his hands on it. After taking a slow and deep breath, Yuan released his demon sealing aura. The second the stone tablet sensed his demon sealing aura, it immediately responded by trembling violently. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 784. Published at 7th of March 2022 12:09 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 784. 784. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 784. Killing intent. When Yuan felt the stone tablet shake, he subconsciously removed his hand from it, fearing that he might destroy it. However, it was too late, as had already injected his demon sealing aura into the stone tablet. The stone tablet began trembling until cracks appeared on it. When Qi Fang and the others saw this, they were terrified out of their minds. If the stone tablet really breaks, they would have no way to fix it. Suddenly, all 7 totems shone brightly, basking the whole area with a golden light. Boom! One of the 7 totems, the very last one, exploded into countless pieces. When that happened, the other 6 totems lost their light, and the stone tablet stopped working. What the hell did you do? Qi Fang approached the totems in a dazed manner, and she inspected the conditions of the remaining 6 totems. Although they were not completely destroyed, they were on the verge of destruction, and they were all covered in cracks. Sorry? I think my demon sealing aura was too strong. Yuan quickly apologized. You think an apology will fix this? If this stone tablet stops working, we will no longer be able to evaluate the strength of our demon sealing aura. Qi Fang said with a frown. I only did as you told me. Yuan shrugged. Calm down. Qi Man suddenly said. Even if the stone tablet is broken, not all hope is lost. The other 2 families also have one. Other 2 families? Yuan raised his eyebrows. There are 3 ancient families in this world that seal demons, and the Qi family is only one of them. The other 2 would be the Wan family and the Sang family. We don't normally speak with each other, but if we really need to, we can ask to use their stone tablet. Don't worry about this, Yuan. We will deal with the stone tablet. You can focus on your lectures. I understand. Once again, sorry about the whole situation. While Yuan returned to his living quarters, the Qi family examined the damages done to the stone tablet much deeper. I have never seen anything like this before. Just how powerful is his demon sealing aura to wreck the place like this? He's strong enough to kill a demon, so I'm not really that surprised. Sometime later, the people that inspected the stone tablet reported the results to the elders. Despite its rough state and appearance, the stone tablet is still working properly, except the 7th totem, which is no longer functional. Qi Huan released a long sigh after hearing the results. Looks like we won't have to beg the other 2 families for their help. Indeed. Qi Man sighed. Meanwhile, okay, I am going to transfer to you the demon sealing techniques now, Yuan said to Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. He started with Meishio. After touching her forehead with his finger, Yuan transferred 2 different techniques to her, both demon sealing techniques that required the bow. A heaven rank and divine rank technique. Meishio mumbled in a low voice. Thank you, Yuan. Yuan turned to look at Chu Liuxiang next. I have 3 demon sealing techniques for you, and they don't require the usage of any weapons. Yuan said to her before transferring the techniques to her. Thank you. She said to him afterward. Good luck learning the techniques. The following morning, Yuan went to the training area. Yuan, I also want to participate in the training today. Meishio suddenly said to him. Sure. I also want to join. Chu Liuxiang said. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. And she continued, make sure that you don't go easy on us. I want. He smiled. Sometime later, they arrived at the training area. While they waited for everyone to arrive, Qi Man approached Yuan and told him about the stone tablets. So they still work? Thank God. Yuan sighed in relief. Only 6 of the 7 totems work, but I doubt any of us will reach that level. Nothing is impossible. Yuan smiled. Once everyone from the Qi family gathered at the training area, Yuan had them surrounded him in a circle. The strongest cultivators there like Qi Fang and Chu Liuxiang sat closest to Yuan while the weaker cultivators sat further away. I will now release my killing intent. It will feel uncomfortable. Some of you might even feel pain, but do your best to endure it. This will not only help you fight against demons, it can also help you when you face other cultivators. Yuan said to them before taking a seat on the floor. Any questions before we start? One of the disciples raised her hands and asked, Senior Yuan, how long do we have to endure your killing intent? As long as you can. I will be doing this all day. If you must retire, leave. But if you want to come back afterward, you can do so. Once there were no more questions, Yuan took a deep breath and turned dead silent. After a moment of silence, an overwhelming amount of killing intent suddenly burst from Yuan's body like a volcano, shocking everybody there. Many disciples screamed in terror the moment they felt his killing intent, and some of them even fell unconscious. Despite the chaos, Yuan continued to release his killing intent, filling the entire training area with it. To this guy. Qi Fang couldn't stop her body shaking from fear, and her body quickly became soaked in sweat. Even the elders like Qi Man and Qi Huan couldn't sit still. Eventually, Yuan had to lower the amount of killing intent he was releasing, as too many disciples were falling out too quickly, which would make his training less effective. As for his killing intent, most of them were from his memories as the evil god. Killing intent can only be formed through one's experience as a killer, and with his memories as the evil god, someone who has killed countless people, even a tiny amount of his killing intent was enough to render everyone in the Qi family useless. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 785. Published at 8th of March 2022 4:48 and 13 seconds AM. Chapter 785. 785. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 785. Hovering in the air, it did not matter if it was Meishio, Chu Liuxiang, Qi Fang, or even the elders. None of them were able to endure Yuan's killing intent for more than 10 minutes continuously, or they would risk pissing their pants from fear. The weaker disciples were even worse, giving up every 2 to 3 minutes before returning after a 15-minute break. How does he emit such strong killing intent? Do you think he's killed a lot of people before? After all, you can only acquire killing intent from killing things. The disciples mumbled to each other while they took a break. Honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. He's so damn powerful, who can stop him? He can probably kill everyone on this island and get away with it. I don't think he's a killer. He just doesn't give me that feeling. As for his killing intent, it could be acquired from for all we know. If you have the time to talk, you have time to go back to training. Why yes, elder. And for pretty much the entire day, Yuan would remain seated at the center of these disciples, keeping his killing intent going. Every hour, he would increase the killing intent slightly so the disciples would never feel comfortable with his killing intent, allowing them to improve at a steady and quick rate. I know I told you not to go easy on us, but heavens, I've never had such intensive training before. Chu Liuxiang sighed out loud after the training ended, feeling sticky all over her body because of her sweat. Are you okay, Meishio? Yuan noticed that she was a little pale after the training. Yes, I am fine. She nodded in a dazed manner. Yuan frowned and said, you shouldn't push yourself so hard. You could hurt yourself. Don't worry, I will be fine after some rest. She smiled. Even if Meishio is a lot stronger than most people due to the treasure she consumed, not to mention her cultivation technique that trains the soul, she is still only a spirit warrior. Yuan could tell that Meishio was pushing herself to get stronger, most likely because she felt that she was too behind when compared to Chu Liuxiang and the others, but he wasn't sure how to convince her to slow down. Sometime later, everyone returned to their room to rest. They were so exhausted that most of them were knocked out before they could even change out of their clothes. In fact, the entire island appeared to be deserted for the rest of the day, and the only ones walking around were the servants that did not participate in Yuan's training. As for Yuan, even though it was also exhausting for him to keep releasing his killing intent, he would fully recover within an hour. Once he fully recovered his energy, Yuan sat on his bed and began trying to use Qi manifestation. After consuming the demon core, his cultivation had a huge breakthrough, surpassing Spirit Master and soaring all the way to the 5th level of Spirit Grandmaster. Now that he was a Spirit Grandmaster, he wondered if he could learn Qi manifestation and start flying in the sky like he does in Cultivation Online. However, just like everything else, it was much more difficult to learn techniques in the real world than in Cultivation Online. I can release my spiritual energy outside my body, but I am having a hard time controlling it. This doesn't make any sense. How come I can learn everything with ease in Cultivation Online, yet everything feels more difficult in this world? Does Cultivation Online somehow increase our comprehension level? It would make sense why things feel easier over there. After practicing his Qi manifestation for pretty much the entire night, Yuan finally gained the ability to control his Qi manifestation. However, he does not seem to be able to fly just yet. I may not be able to fly without support, but what if I use a flying sword? Yuan summoned his Empyrean overlord and proceeded to make it hover using Qi manifestation. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Once he was comfortable with controlling the sword, he jumped onto the sword. Ah, it's working. I am hovering in the air. Yuan laughed out loud as he hovered in the middle of the room while standing on his sword. He immediately began working on his balance in the air, and once he was comfortable with that, he started controlling the sword to make it fly around the room. This training made Yuan recall when he first learned how to balance on a flying sword after being taught by Xiaohua. After recalling Xiaohua, Yuan suddenly had a realization. Wait a minute. If I can summon my soul weapons in this world, perhaps I can somehow summon Xiaohua and the others into this world as well? The thought of summoning Xiaohua and the others to this world was so outrageous that it never even appeared inside Yuan's mind, but now that he thought about it, he really wanted to see it happen. Yuan quickly stopped his training and took a deep breath. Once he cleared his mind, he tried to call for Xiaohua and the others like he normally would in Cultivation Online. Xiaohua, can you hear me? Feng Feng? Ying? If you can hear me, come out. Yuan tried calling them for 5 minutes straight, but he did not get any response from them. Fortunately, I kept my expectations down. But this begs the question, how come I can summon my soul weapons but not my servants? Is it because they are tools and not living beings? Or maybe Xiaohua and the others are too far away to hear my summoning? He began pondering for a solution, but in the end he returned to practicing flying around on his flying sword. Guess I will have to ask them about it when I return home. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 786. Published at 9th of March 2022 9:30 and 5 seconds AM. Chapter 786. 786. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 786. Exhaustion. The following morning, Yuan went to meet up with Chu Liuxiang and Meishio before going to the training area. How do you feel? Yuan asked Meishio as they walked to the training area. Much better. She nodded with a confident smile. However, she still looked as pale as yesterday, which made Yuan worry a little. Are you sure? You should probably stay back and rest today. Chu Liuxiang said to her. Really, I am fine. I have experienced much worse before. Meishio said. If you say so. Once they reached the training area, Yuan would take a seat in the middle of the place and said to those that were already there, I will begin now. Those that are not here right now can join later. He waited until everyone there was sitting around him before he started to release his killing intent. This time he started out with weak killing intent and gradually increased it. Even though the disciples had spent all day enduring the same killing intent yesterday, they did not feel any better today when being pressured by the killing intent. In fact, it felt even worse for them who were exhausted yesterday and haven't fully recovered. Regardless, almost everyone that was there yesterday was also there today with a few exceptions, such as those that got sick or were too traumatized by yesterday. However, about an hour into their training, Yuan suddenly stopped his killing intent and stood up in a panicked manner. Meishio. He jumped over the crowd of disciples and landed in front of Meishio, who had just collapsed onto the ground. His reaction was instantaneous, as had been keeping his divine sense on her the entire time. Iche. Yuan could hear Meishio breathing heavily, almost as though she was having trouble breathing. Is there a doctor here? He shouted out loud. Here. Because of their dangerous training method, the Qi family made sure there were plenty of doctors on standby just in case anything were to happen. Over a dozen doctors quickly surrounded Yuan and checked Mixia's condition. She collapsed from exhaustion and she has a fever. It's nothing life-threatening. The doctors explained to Yuan after their assessment. I see. Thank you. Yuan picked up Meishio before speaking out loud. Sorry, but I am going to have to end today's training earlier than usual. Don't worry about it. If you need anything, let us know. There will be a doctor available for you around the clock until she is recovered. Qi-man said to him. Sometime later, Yuan carried Meishio back to her room and placed her on the bed. I knew something like this was going to happen when I saw her condition. Chu Liuxiang sighed as she stood beside Yuan. I don't understand. Why is she working herself to such an extent? Yuan shook his head. If anything, Mixia's workload has dramatically decreased since they left the Yu family, so it didn't make sense for her to collapse from exhaustion. Just what on earth is she doing that's causing this? I'm sorry. Meishio suddenly mumbled in a low voice. And she continued, I didn't want to fall behind you and everyone else, so I worked extra hard to improve my cultivation. Yuan was speechless. He didn't think Meishio would be worried about such a thing. How silly. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said, and she continued, if you want to catch up to Yuan, you'll be chasing for the rest of your life, and even then you won't catch up. If you're talking about everyone else, you've already caught up. You're a spirit warrior, right? There aren't many spirit warriors in this world even today. The 6 spiritual families, the Chu family and the Qi family, they're all abnormal families that have a huge advantage over everyone else because of their prior knowledge on cultivation. If you take them out of the conclusion, you're one of the top cultivators in the world, so you shouldn't worry about catching up. Yuan then said, I don't want to sound arrogant, but Lulu is right, Meishio. I can consume demon cores, and a single one of them increases my cultivation by leaps and bounds. Unless someone has the same physique, I cannot imagine how they'll achieve the same results without consuming a massive amount of treasures, and such treasures are not easily attainable in this world. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Meishio had no response, as everything Yuan and Chu Liuxiang said was the truth. It was simply foolish of her to try and catch up to Yuan, who has heaven-defying talents that allowed him to achieve Spirit Grandmaster within a couple of months after he started cultivation. Anyways, get some rest. Seeing you like this, I also feel like resting some more. Yesterday's training was too stressful. Chu Liuxiang said a moment later. Sorry? Yuan felt the need to apologize for some reason. Don't you dare make the training easier just because of this, though. I want. Yuan smiled. If you need me, I will be right next door. Chu Liuxiang returned to her own room shortly after. Once they were alone, Meishio spoke in a low voice. Yuan? What's the matter? Are you in pain? I will immediately get the doctor. No, that's not it. She quickly stopped him. My body is still soaked in sweat. I cannot go to sleep like this and I'll dirty the bed. Oh, sorry. Can you turn on the water for me so I can take a quick shower? I will be there in a bit. Of course. Yuan went to the bathroom and turned on the shower for her. Sometime later, Yuan returned to the room to see that Meishio had just stripped naked. Can you help me to the bathroom? I cannot exert any strength for some reason. Meishio suddenly asked him. Yuan nodded and he asked, do you want me to wash your back as well? Meixia's face flushed slightly redder after hearing his question, but she didn't refuse. If you don't mind, she nodded. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 787. Published at 10th of March 2022 2:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 787. 787. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 787. Taking care of Meishio, why would I mind? Yuan said as he walked next to Meishio so that he could support her. Meishio wrapped her arm around his neck while Yuan held her by the waist, walking her to the bathroom. Once they were inside the bathroom, Meishio removed her bath towel and sat down on a small wooden chair. Can you hold the shower head for me? Sure. Yuan took the shower head and started rinsing her body. Okay, that's enough, she said a moment later. Should I wash your back now? Yuan asked. Seeing Meishio nod her head, Yuan squeezed some body wash onto his palms before he started washing Meixia's back with his bare hands. Her skin is so smooth, Yuan thought to himself, and he couldn't help but recall the time when their naked bodies embraced each other. Once Meixia's whole back was covered in soap, Yuan said, Okay, I am done. However, Meishio remained silent. Meishio, are you okay? Yuan quickly asked her in a worried voice. Why yes. Sorry I dazed out just now. She responded in a low voice. Then she said, Yuan, can I ask you to wash my front as well? Perhaps it was because of her fever, or maybe it was because of the sensation of Yuan's hands on her back just now, but she felt hotter than usual, and that made her bolder than usual. To the front? Of course. Yuan was a little surprised to hear such a request, but he didn't refuse. Thank you. Yuan squeezed more body wash onto his palms before moving to the front, where he could see the best features on Meixia's naked body. After swallowing nervously, Yuan began washing Meixia's front. He started with her neck before going down to her breasts, then stomach. Once he reached her legs, Meisho willingly spread her legs for him. Yuan took another deep breath before washing her legs, slowly moving towards the slit between her legs. Meisho suddenly released a gentle moan when Yuan's fingers began rubbing against her sensitive spot. When he heard this beautiful sound that tickled his ears and heart, Yuan's movement sped up a little, almost as though it was trying to match the pace of his heart that was also speeding up. Meixia's moans also got more constant and louder as the sensation of Yuan rubbing her slit became more intense. A few moments later, when Yuan realized what he was doing, he quickly stopped and pulled his hand back. Sorry, my body acted on its own just now. He apologized. It's okay. I didn't dislike it either, she said with a gentle smile on her face. Yuan swallowed hard after hearing her words. Anyways, let me rinse you off before you catch a cold. Thus, he quickly began rinsing her body until there was no more soap left. After helping her dry her body, Yuan carried Meisho back to her bed, where he also helped her change into her pajamas. After helping you today, I understand the efforts it requires to take care of someone. I won't say that I understand the efforts you and Ro put to take care of me, but I understand that it's not an easy thing to do, yet the both of you make it look so easy. Anyways, get some rest, Meisho. I will be here if you need me, Yuan said to her. However, when he tried to leave, Meisho suddenly grabbed his hand. What's the matter? He asked her. My body is very hot. Help me. Calm it down, Meisho said as she stared at him with a charming gaze. Calm you down? How do I? Meisho suddenly regained some of her strength and pulled Yuan onto her. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan, let's have sex, she whispered to him. Yuan's jaw dropped open after hearing her flabbergasting words, and he quickly said, You can't. You have a fever and you need to rest now. I can't rest with a restless body. Just for a while, okay. Meisho looked at him with these pleading eyes that could instantly melt even the coldest men out there. However, Yuan remained unfazed and sighed, Just endure it for now. Your body is too weak to do anything right now. Once you have fully recovered, if you still want to, have sex, we can do it for as long as you want. You promise? I promise. He nodded vigorously. Meisho didn't say anything else and closed her eyes, quickly falling asleep. Yuan released a sigh of relief afterward. He then sat a few meters away from the bed and started to cultivate in silence. Meisho woke up a few hours later and said, Yuan, I'm hungry. I will tell the Qi family to cook something for you, Yuan said before going outside, where a servant was on standby, and he explained the situation to her. I understand. We will have something cooked as soon as possible. The servant bowed to him before running off to find a chief. Half an hour later, the servant returned with a bowl of rice porridge and handed it to Yuan. Can you feed me? Meisho asked him. Of course. Yuan agreed, and he started spoon-feeding her the rice porridge. Once Meisho cleared the bowl of rice porridge, she laid back down on the bed and said, Yuan, can you give me a kiss? Sure. He gave her a gentle kiss on the lips. Despite Meisho acting a little weird and more demanding than usual, Yuan didn't mind it at all, and he even found it a little bit refreshing. After all, Meisho was raised to keep everything to herself, and that included her desires, so she rarely asks for anything. Once Meisho fell asleep again, Yuan returned to his cultivation. However, Meisho wouldn't fully recover until 2 days later, and during this time, Yuan was the one who took care of her every need, just like how she took care of him when he couldn't move his body. No matter her request, with a few shameless exceptions that her body wouldn't be able to handle at its condition, Yuan did everything Meisho wanted with no questions asked. With this new experience, Yuan learned that he really enjoyed taking care of others, as it made him feel useful in another sense, and he felt that he was finally returning favors to Meisho, who took care of him when he needed it the most. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 788. Published at 11th of March 2022 3:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 788. 788 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 788. Do you want to do it now? How do you feel? Yuan asked Meisho when she woke up on the third day after she collapsed from exhaustion. I'm completely fine now. Thank you for taking care of me, and I'm sorry that I kept you from your training sessions. I must have been a burden. Meishio lowered her head in a shameful manner. The last time she was even slightly sick was over a decade ago, after all. There's no need to apologize. I only took care of you for 3 short days while you took care of me and my sister for years. If you asked me to continue taking care of you, I would agree and I wouldn't utter a single complaint. What are you going to do now that you've recovered? Continue training? Chu Liuxiang asked her. Meishio looked at Chu Liuxiang and shook her head. No, I'm going to stay in today. Even though I have recovered, I would like to rest some more. That's a good idea. However, I am ready to go back to training. What about you, Yuan? Are you going to resume training? Yuan nodded. Even though I promised the Qi family that I'd stay for 2 weeks, things just keep coming up, shortening that time to 1 week. Sometime later, Yuan and Chu Liuxiang went to the training area. If you need anything, there will be a servant on standby outside, Yuan said to Meishio before leaving. Once she was alone, Meishio returned to her bed, but she didn't go to sleep. Instead, she got under the blankets and removed her pants and underwear. Yuan, you idiot. Meishio sighed in a low voice before she started relieving herself. Meanwhile, when they arrived at the training area, Yuan said to the disciples there, I apologize for the delay, but I will be resuming my training sessions today. For the next 2 days, we will continue practicing with my killing intent. And for the final few days we will be sparring with each other just like the first day, but you will also have to endure my killing intent while trying to seal me. Yuan gave the Qi family some time to prepare themselves before he took a seat and released his killing intent. When Qi Man and the other elders heard that Yuan had returned to the training area, they quickly stopped whatever they were doing to participate in the training, as they also benefited greatly from his training. After 3 days of break, the Qi family fully recovered from their fatigue. However, that did not make it any more comfortable for them, as they were still struggling to endure Yuan's killing intent. At the end of the day, Qi Man approached Yuan and asked him, How is your lady friend doing? She's recovered, but she didn't join us just in case. Well, unlike us, she's in no rush to train, Qi Man said with a smile. What do you mean? Yuan tilted his head in a questioning manner. We only have a limited amount of time to train with you, but your friend, on the other hand, will have her entire life to train with you. Qi Huan suddenly appeared and said, Why don't you take Qi Fang with you? She may have a problematic personality, but I can guarantee you that she's worth it if you can tame her. Tame me? Why are you treating me like I am some sort of animal? I don't need to be tamed. Qi Fang overheard their conversation and quickly refuted. Also, there's no way that I'd ever follow him. Qi Man turned to look at her and said, Really? Because I recall how you always mention how you will only follow someone who is stronger than you. If you ask me, I think he's much stronger than you. Qi Fang opened her mouth, but she couldn't refute his accusations, so she could only close it back up a moment later and feel embarrassed about the whole thing. Anyways, I'm going to check up on Meishio. I will see you all tomorrow. After Yuan and Chu Liuxiang left, Qi Man turned to look at Qi Fang and sighed, What are you thinking, you silly girl? We were trying to get you a worthy partner. Qi Fang frowned. You think I don't know that? It's precisely because I don't want to be his partner that I intervened. Why not? He's not only talented but also very young. If you ask me, there's probably nobody out there that's more worthy than him as a partner, especially for families like our Qi family. Qi Huan said. You want me to partner up with my disciple's partner? Just how desperate do you think I am? And even if I was that desperate, I wouldn't do such a thing. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The young lady from the Chu family? What makes you think that they're partners? They seem close, but I think he seems closer to Meishio. Qi Man asked out of curiosity. He wouldn't fight the entire Chu family over her if they didn't share a special relationship. Qi Fang snorted. Wait, he fought the Chu family? They looked baffled by this information. Why are you telling us this just now? What happened between Yuan and the Chu family? It's a long story and I am tired. We have plenty of time. Qi Fang sighed. Fine, I will tell you about it, but let me shower real quick first. Meanwhile, inside Meixius' room. How are you feeling now? Yuan asked her. Bored, she sighed. And frustrated. What's causing your frustration? Yuan raised his eyebrows. A lot of things. Is there anything I can do to help? After a moment of silence, Meishio responded while staring at him from the bed. Do you remember your promise? My promise? Yuan pondered for a moment before coming to a realization and blushing. Why you mean? I thought that was something you said due to your fever? The two of them proceeded to stare at each other in awkward silence. Eventually, Yuan broke the silence and said, Do you want to do it now? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 789. Published at 11th of March 2022 3:09 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 789. 789. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 789. To make things even, Chu Liuxiang. Where is she? Meishio suddenly asked about her whereabouts. She returned to her room to shower after training. Meishio nodded and continued, lock the door first. After locking the door, Yuan returned to bed. What are you waiting for? Take off your clothes. Meishio said to him as she removed her own clothes. Yuan swallowed nervously and also removed his clothes. Even though this isn't their first time doing such a thing, he still couldn't help but feel nervous about it. Once they were both naked, Meishio said to him, sit over here. Yuan nodded and got onto the bed. The next moment, Meishio moved beside him and rested her head on his shoulders. Yuan, do you hate it when I am like this? She suddenly asked him. Why would I hate you? There's no way that would happen. He quickly replied. Even though I am such a pervert? Ever since we did it for the first time, I have been thinking about it non-stop, and every time I look at you, my body gets hotter and would crave for your warmth. I never had such feelings before. Yuan smiled and said, to tell you the truth, I have been thinking about it as well. Yuan? Meishio tilted her head slightly and kissed him on the lips before adjusting her position. Once she was ready, she opened her mouth and began sucking Yuan's sword. A few minutes later, they embraced each other and their bodies intertwined. Meishio moaned softly as she indulged herself with the sensation of Yuan's rod rubbing inside her. More? When Yuan heard Meixia's charming voice, he felt a rush of adrenaline flow through his body, causing his hips to move faster. However, after a few minutes of intense thrusting, Yuan suddenly halted his movements when he heard someone trying to open the door. Yuan immediately used his divine sense to see who it was, and to his surprise, Chu Liuxiang was standing outside of the room with her hand on the doorknob. It's Lulu? He said to Meishio in a whispering voice. I will handle it. Meishio nodded. Who is it? She then spoke out loud. It's me. I'm here to check up on your condition. Chu Liuxiang said. Can you open the door? It's locked. Sorry, but can you come back later? I'm about to take a bath. Also, I am fine. Meishio said. After a moment of silence, Chu Liuxiang continued, what about Yuan? Do you know where he's gone? I went to look for him at his building, but he didn't appear to be there. I'm not sure. Maybe he went to speak with the elders. Okay. Since you're okay, I won't bother you any longer. Enjoy your bath. Chu Liuxiang left right afterward. Meishio released a sigh of relief. I don't know why, but it feels like we're doing something we're not supposed to. The feeling of not wanting to get caught. Yuan sighed. That's a normal response, especially since we're doing something like this. It makes me feel like I am betraying Chu Liuxiang for some reason, and I don't really like this feeling. Yuan shook his head. Meishio stared at Yuan's face that showed genuine concern, and she smiled. We don't have to hide like this if you don't want to. I will talk to her later. Really? That also feels wrong for some reason. Yuan raised his eyebrows. Meishio smiled and said, well, our relationship is a little special, but we'll get used to it. Okay. I will leave it to you. Yuan nodded. They continued to embrace each other shortly after, and they would not stop until it was almost midnight. I'm going to speak with Chu Liuxiang now. Meishio said to Yuan, who was drying his body with a towel. Do you want me to come with you? He asked. No, I think it would be better if I speak to her by myself. Meishio showed him a beautiful smile before leaving the room. A few moments later, Meishio knocked on Chu Liuxiang's door. Who is it? Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. It's me. Are you busy right now? No, you can come in. The door's unlocked. Meishio entered Chu Liuxiang's room the next moment. Inside the room, Chu Liuxiang was sitting on her bed in the lotus position. She had been cultivating this entire time. Can we talk? There's something that I need to tell you. Meishio said to her. Chu Liuxiang smiled and pointed at the chair beside the bed. Sit down. Once Meishio was sitting, Chu Liuxiang spoke. So, what do you want to talk to me about? It's about Yuan. Yuan? You mean how you're sleeping with him? Chu Liuxiang said, dropping this massive bomb out of the blue. Meixia's eyes widened with shock. and she had this look of total flabbergast on her face. How did you? Chu Liuxiang laughed at Mixius' response and calmly said, you know, spirit masters such as myself have much sharper senses than most people. I could hear you moaning the moment I walked near your room, and I could sense Yuan's presence inside the room with you. I pretended that I didn't know anything so that you could enjoy yourselves. I'm sorry. Meishio sighed. Why are you apologizing? Chu Liuxiang raised her eyebrows. You're not angry? I know how much you want to start a family with Yuan, yet I still went ahead and… Angry? Why would I be angry? Chu Liuxiang became bewildered. And she continued, do you remember the talk we had in the Immortal Caves? I do. Meishio nodded. Even though I am no longer with the Chu family, my feelings haven't changed. As long as Yuan is happy and I have a spot in his heart, I don't care how many partners he accepts. And to make things even, I have also slept with him, so you don't need to feel guilty. Chu Liuxiang revealed, leaving Meishio utterly speechless. Why you slept with him? Since when? Meishio asked in a dazed voice. Just a few days ago. It was our first time. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 790. Published at 11th of March 2022 6:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 790. 790. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 790. Sleeping together, a few days ago? When he was sick. Meishio raised her eyebrows in a puzzling manner. Chu Liuxiang nodded. That's right. He was actually looking for you at that time, but you were away, so I stepped in to help. One thing led to another and our bodies ended up intertwined with each other. I had my suspicions already at that time, but I confirmed it today. Anyways, now that we both know the truth, what are you going to do? I don't mind sharing him. Meishio didn't immediately respond, and the hesitation in her eyes were quite clear. Of course, she didn't have any problem with Chu Liuxiang being with Yuan, but she never thought that she would be sharing a man with another woman. It's okay if you say no, but just so you know, I won't back down. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said. Just think about it. Someone like Yuan, he will never have an ordinary life, and I think that he will only have more partners in the future. Meishio sighed. I know. I was trained to be nothing more than a bed warmer for Yuan. Even if I had feelings for him, I would not have a place beside him as an official partner. That's what I had prepared myself for. However, all of that changed when we left the Yu family. I am no longer just a bed warmer, and I can stand beside him not as a mere servant, but as his partner. She took a deep breath and continued, if you truly do not mind sharing him, then I also have no problem sharing him. That is my decision. Chu Liuxiang smiled and extended her hand to Meishio. Then we'll be something like sisters after today. Sisters? Meishio raised her eyebrow. Yes. Since we're both going to be his wife in the future, we might as well treat each other like sisters. That's how my father's wives treat each other. So, nice to meet you, Sister Meishio. Seeing the wide smile on Chu Liuxiang's face, Meishio couldn't help but smile as well, and she accepted the handshake. Let's go see Yuan together. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said. Okay. They went to see Yuan in Mixius' room shortly after. Yuan, we have an announcement to make. Chu Liuxiang said to him. Yuan swallowed nervously and nodded. I'm listening. Chu Liuxiang suddenly grabbed Mixius' hand and lifted their hands into the air. We have come to an agreement that we will both be your partner. Are you okay with that? Both of you as my partners? Yuan raised his eyebrows. And then he said, I thought you were already my partners. Why do you need to come to an agreement? Chu Liuxiang and Meishio were left speechless by Yuan's reaction. Oh, of course we have to come to an agreement. It's not really normal for one person to have multiple wives. If there's no agreement between the wives, it would be a chaotic and toxic family. Chu Liuxiang explained. Sorry, I didn't know and I just assumed everything would be fine. Yuan sighed. Due to his inexperience with relationships, he didn't know what was the norm and what was abnormal, not to mention his previous lives' memories, where it's very common for a person to have multiple partners. Furthermore, everything flowed so naturally that he subconsciously thought everything was fine. Well, now you know. Chu Liuxiang said, and she continued, and if you ever decide to accept more partners, you should consult us first. We need to make sure that she's worthy and won't bring disorder to the family. That's our responsibility as your current partner. Yuan nodded. Okay. Good. Then to celebrate this moment, let's all sleep together tonight. Chu Liuxiang suddenly suggested. What? Meishio turned to look at her with wide eyes. Chu Liuxiang realized what Shed just said and chuckled. You misunderstood me. I mean, we should just sleep on the same bed, normally. I may be okay with sharing him. I don't think I am ready to do that kind of stuff just yet. Oh. Meishio blushed when she realized her mistake. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I don't mind. Yuan nodded. Then it's decided. We can sleep in this room since we're already here. Chu Liuxiang said. Sometime later they got onto the same bed and went to sleep. Yuan slept in the middle of the bed while Chu Liuxiang and Meishio slept right beside him on both sides. Good night. Yuan said to them. Good night. They both said. The three of them quickly fell asleep. The following morning, Chi Man looked around the training area but could not see Yuan or the other two. Have you seen Yuan? It's already time for training but he's not here and the ladies are missing too. He asked Chi Fang and the others but they all shook their heads. Of course, Yuan and the others had overslept due to feeling too comfortable from sleeping together. Chi Fang, can you go check up on them? Chi Huan asked her. Why me? She sighed but she still went to check on their situation. Chi Fang went to Yuan's living quarter first, but when she saw that his place was empty she went to Chu Luxiang's room. It's also empty? Where did they go? Chi Fang frowned, feeling something was off. She went to Mixius' room last and subconsciously opened the door without knocking since the last two rooms were empty. The door wasn't locked, allowing Chi Fang to walk right into Mixius' room. And to her absolute shock, Yuan and the other two were sleeping peacefully on the bed. When she witnessed this and realized the situation, her eyes widened and her jaw dropped. This brat. I am speechless. Turns out that we were both right. He's actually in a relationship with both Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Chi Fang cried inwardly. He's so young yet he's already like this. I cannot imagine what he'll be like in the future when he's all grown up and mature. She swallowed nervously. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 791. Published at 11th of March 2022 6:09 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 791. 791. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 791. Overslept. Shortly after Chi Fang entered their room, Yuan subconsciously woke up when he sensed a foreign presence within the room. He immediately used his divine sense, and when he saw Chi Fang standing by the door with a flabbergasted expression, he calmed down. Senior Chi? What are you doing here? Yuan sat up on the bed and asked her in an oddly calm voice. Do you know what time it is? Everyone is already waiting for you at the training area. Chi Fang said with a frown on her face. What? It's already morning? Sorry. I overslept. Yuan quickly woke up Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. 5 more minutes? Chu Liuxiang mumbled in a low voice. Meishio immediately sat up after being woken up, and when she saw Chi Fang standing at the door with her arms crossed, Mixia's face flushed with redness, and she felt like she had been caught red-handed. Lulu, it's Senior Chi. We're late for training. Yuan tried to wake her up again. What? When she heard his words, Chu Liuxiang quickly sat up and turned to look at the door, and sure enough, she could see Chi Fang standing there. Master. Chu Liuxiang jumped out of the bed like a startled cat. I don't want to hear anything. Just get dressed and head to the training area if you plan on training today. Chi Fang said to them before turning around and walking out of the place. When she returned to the training area, Chi Man asked her, What happened? Where's Yuan? Don't worry, he's perfectly fine. He just overslept. Overslept? I guess it happens to even the best of us. Chi Man chuckled. By the way, do you remember our talk the other day? About who his partner is? Chi Fang suddenly asked. Yes, what about it? Turns out they were both his partners. They were sleeping together when I found them. Chi Man and Chi Huan's jaw dropped slightly after hearing this information. After a moment of silence, Chi Man suddenly started laughing. What an impressive lad. I should be surprised, but I am actually more impressed. He's earned my admiration. Ah. Chi Huan shook her head with a smile. Young people nowadays are sure active. However, a man of his caliber, I am really not surprised. What are you going to do now, Qifeng? This proves that Yuan is willing to accept multiple partners. You can be one of them. No way in hell. Qifeng frowned. Don't come complaining to us when it's too late. We're saying this for your own good. Qi Man sighed. I won't regret anything. This is my decision. A few minutes later, Yuan and the other two showed up at the training area. Sorry for the delay. I overslept. Yuan apologized to the disciples there. All of the disciples there were already seated in a circle, so Yuan only needed to get to the center and release his killing intent to begin the training. A few moments later, Yuan began their training. His killing intent swept the area and instantly terrorized the people there, and those that were not prepared were immediately eliminated, losing consciousness. When that happened, the doctors on standby rushed to the scene and grabbed the unconscious disciples out of the zone. Of course, Yuan purposefully avoided the doctors with his killing intent so that they could assist the disciples. However, even without directly feeling Yuan's killing intent, they could still feel the pressure. After many hours of training, Yuan retrieved his killing intent and called it a day. That night, Yuan slept together with Chu Liuxiang and Meishio again. The following morning they made sure to wake up properly, and they made their way to the training area after eating breakfast. Today will be the last day of your endurance training. Starting tomorrow you will be fighting me. Yuan said to the disciples before he started the training. Finally, this hellish training is over. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Many of the disciples released a sigh of relief at the end of the day when they realized that they no longer needed to experience Yuan's killing intent ever again. However, then they realized that they will be fighting against the same monster who releases the killing intent, and that made them nervous again. The next day, Yuan showed up at the training area with a new appearance that left the disciples dumbfounded. In order to make the training feel more realistic, Yuan had decided to paint his skin red so that he would look more like a real demon. What the heck is that? You look ridiculous. Qifeng couldn't help but laugh when she saw Yuan's appearance. Yuan smiled and said, I know, but I still wanted to try it. Sometime later, Yuan picked 10 disciples to fight him. You can use any weapon or technique. You also don't need to worry about hurting me, so give me all you've got. Once they were prepared, the 10 disciples launched their assault on Yuan. However, when Yuan released his killing intent, the disciples halted their movements and froze on the spot. Why are you all just standing there? I had you all endure my killing intent for a reason. Hurry up and attack me. If I was a real demon, you'd all have died the moment you showed even the slightest sign of weakness. Yuan shouted at the disciples, snapping them out of their daze. The disciples proceeded to endure Yuan's killing intent and continued their assault on him, but their movements were quite slow and sluggish. Eventually, Yuan defeated all of the disciples. Don't worry, you'll all improve. This is why we're training. Yuan said a few words of encouragement to them before picking 10 more disciples to fight. At the end of the day, only the elders Chu Liuxiang, Meishio and Qifeng were left. All of you can come at me, Yuan said to them. Are you sure? Qi Man swallowed nervously. I am. Yuan nodded with a smile. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 792. Published at 12th of March 2022 5:36 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 792. 792. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 792. Magic trick. Once they were ready, all of the elders within the Qi family along with Meishio and Chu Liuxiang surrounded Yuan. In total, there were 25 people that will be participating in this spar, and most of them were spirit masters, with Meishio being the only spirit warrior. Whenever you're ready, Qi Man said to Yuan. Yuan suddenly lifted his hand, and a large sword appeared out of thin air before falling into his grasp. This scene shocked everybody there, as they have never seen such a scene before. What kind of magic trick did he just do? How did he summon that huge-ass sword out of thin air? Is it really a magic trick? I don't know how he did it, but it doesn't look like magic. The disciples there mumbled to each other Yuan's magic trick. Of course, the elders were also bewildered by it. I wanted to ask you this last time, but how are you doing that? Qifeng asked him with a slight frown. Yuan showed a playful smile and said, if you defeat me, I will tell you. Watch me. Qi Fang immediately pounced at Yuan with her sword already swinging towards him. Ding. Yuan casually blocked the attack with his Empyrean Overlord, and it felt as though she just struck a block of steel for Qi Fang. Don't forget about us. Qi Man and the other elders suddenly appeared around Yuan to strike him. Of course, Yuan saw them coming with his divine sense, and he dodged all of their strikes with his movement technique. Once he dodged the attacks, Yuan released his killing intent, which affected their movements, but not by much. And for the next few minutes, Yuan would defend and dodge all incoming attacks, and he made it seem so effortlessly. Corrupting blow. Qi Man suddenly released a devastating strike at Yuan with his sword. Yuan had no doubt that Qi Man's skill could easily cut through metal like a hot knife in butter just by its sharp aura, but he didn't run away and confronted the attack head-on. Clang. A minor shockwave swept the training area when their swords collided, and Qi Man was sent flying back many meters from the backlash. However, Yuan only moved back a single step, shocking the spectators. The disparity in their strength is too huge. Suddenly, without even turning his head, Yuan moved his sword beside his head, almost like he was trying to hide behind it. The next moment, an arrow struck the blade of his sword, and Yuan could feel an immense force behind this seemingly ordinary arrow, one that was even stronger than Qi Man's strike. After being pushed back a couple of steps, Yuan turned his head towards Meishio, who was standing many meters away with a bow in her hands, and he smiled. "No bad. This must be the technique you recently got," Yuan said as he began moving towards Meishio. But before he could get close to Meishio, Yuan felt an overwhelming force flying towards his direction, causing him to halt and turn around. Bang! A massive amount of spiritual energy collided with Yuan's sword, nearly sending him flying. After stabilizing his body, Yuan turned to look at Chu Liuxiang, who'd just released that powerful attack. "Are you okay?" Chu Liuxiang asked him afterward. "Yes, I am." Yuan nodded with a smile. Out of all of his opponents, Yuan found that Meishio and Chu Liuxiang were the most annoying with their long-range attacks, and when he tried to defeat them first, the other would interfere. Obviously, he wasn't truly trying to defeat them, or he would have defeated everybody there with a single strike, and that would defeat the purpose of their training. "I am not done yet." Qi Fang suddenly appeared behind Yuan and thrust her sword at his back. However, Yuan had already anticipated her movements and attack, so he shifted his body just enough to dodge Qi Fang's attack before countering with his empty hand. "Ah. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." Qi Fang cried out loud when Yuan's fist met her stomach. An intense pain filled her stomach that quickly spread throughout her body, causing her to kneel on the ground. "Shit. That freaking hurts. What are you going to do if I cannot have a baby in the future because you punched so damn hard?" Qi Fang complained. Yuan's body froze when he heard Qi Fang's words, and he said in an apologetic voice, Sorry, but I didn't use that much strength." "Know that much strength? Then you clearly don't know your own strength. You nearly blew a hole in my stomach." Qi Fang cried. "Do you need a doctor?" Yuan approached her. However, when he got close enough, Qi Fang suddenly stood up and attacked him. "I got you now." Wah. Because Yuan had lowered his guard, Qi Fang managed to send him flying with a direct hit. "Damn, that felt great. I have been wanting to hit you for a while now," Qi Fang said with a satisfied look on her face. When the elders saw Qi Fang's shameless action, they couldn't help but shake their heads. Pretending to be hurt and striking when he lowered his guard? That was very shameless and childish of you. Qi Man sighed, feeling second-hand embarrassment from her act. Qi Fang coldly snorted, "What are you talking about?" He said to defeat him using any means possible. "And who said I was pretending? That really hurt. My stomach is in pain even now." "She's right, Senior. I had lowered my guard and she got me. In a fight against demons, you must use any means necessary to win," Yuan said with a calm smile on his face after getting back up and seemingly unscathed. "Are you okay? That looked like it hurt." Qi Huan asked him. "Yes, I am perfectly fine." Yuan nodded. "Anyways, let's continue." "Okay." They continued to spar with each other for another hour until most of the elders were too exhausted to continue. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.